Welcome, everybody. Call City Council meeting to order. This is a City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 12th, 2017. It's City Council meeting number 2017-23. And it's also the last scheduled City Council meeting for this council for the past 2 years. So let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence, please. Councilor Orlando, would you lead us? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to welcome to our City Council meeting Dr. Richard Sapphire, who's the Superintendent of Schools, Jonathan Pope, School Committee Chair, Kathy Clancy, the Vice Chair, and Amy Pasquarella, Principal of the East Gloucester Elementary School. So welcome. Madam Clerk, first item.
First item is oral communications.
Okay. Under oral communication, the public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communication on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communication shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state their problems without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident will be notified within a 2-week period relative to the disposition of same, and a copy shall be forwarded to the City Council. Persons speaking under oral communication shall be limited to 3 minutes each. The council president shall not allow complaints as to individuals' performance. Is there anybody that wants to speak under oral communication? Please step up. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, next item.
Next item is the confirmation of new appointments. Diane Corliss, at-large member to the Animal Advisory Committee, term to expire 2/14/20.
And I'll turn it over to Councilor LeBlanc.
Thank you. We have 3 appointments tonight. The first is Diane Corliss, and we had a couple openings on the at the Animal Advisory Committee, and Diane was gracious enough to step up and fill one of the roles. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council appoint to the Animal Advisory Committee Diane Corliss, titled Member at Large, term to expire 2/14/20, and I so move.
Second. Moved and seconded. Is there a narrative?
Yes, so we had 2 spots to open. We had a lateral movement, and Diane stepped into one of the other positions. She was an animal control officer for the city, so we all know who she is. I think she's going to be a great asset to this committee and bring her knowledge of all animals, wild and domesticated, to our board. So, Diane, thank you for stepping up tonight and bringing your service to us.
Diane, are you here? Just stand up and give a wave. Thank you. Thank you for serving. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Next item we have is the same thing for Beth Kleinfelter. So Beth was an at-large member for the Animal Advisory Committee, and Diane had expressed interest in joining this committee. So we had reached out to Beth. She lives in Ward 3, so she's going to change her title as a Ward 3 representative on the advisory committee and gave up her seat for Diane as an at-large member. So it was very honorable of Beth to add some strength to this committee with a movement for her. So on that being said, Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that Ben Kleinfelter be appointed to the Animal Advisory Committee as a Ward 3 representative, term to expire 2/14/20, and I so move.
Moved and seconded.
So Beth, I told Beth she didn't have to come here today because she's already a sitting member of the Animal Advisory Committee, and she had another engagement, so it's just a lateral movement for her anyway.
All right, simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, Counselor.
Next, we have for the Planning Board, Jane M. Ramson. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council appoint Jane M. Ramson to the Planning Board, term to expire 2/14, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
So Jane has years of experience on another planning board in a smaller town with a population of 6,000, some paralegal experience, and highly recommended by Jim Destino in the mayor's office. She was really good at O&A, and I'm going to support her tonight.
Okay. Anybody else? Jane, are you here? Please stand up. If you want to say a couple of words, you're free to. If not, just wave. Thank you. Okay. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the consent agenda.
Is there any council that wants to put any matter off the consent agenda this evening?
Mayor,
Councilor Orlando.
I'd like to take under council orders item number 3, order 2017-058, and would you like me to speak on that, or do you want to wait till you?
What, you're pulling off number 3
Yes,
on council orders?
yes.
Okay, got it.
And
Councilor Lumberg.
yes, Mr. President, we'll also pull item 2 under council orders, which is 2017-057. Pull that, please.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Call. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended? Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Why don't we start with Councilor Orlando?
Thanks. I just wanted to amend this entry to reflect that it should be referred to the legal department as well. I think under the order it says to go to O&A, but we'd just like to also include the legal department to review it and render their opinion on the matter.
Okay. So you feel it should go to the legal and not to O&A?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is that in the form of a motion?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Councilor Lumberg.
Yes, given that notice to all the abutters of the city in this situation is impractical, I move that the City Council waive the notice of abutters under GZO Section 1.11.4B pursuant to City Council 2017-057, that the council is asked to amend zoning ordinance accordingly, to set the public hearing for the matter as of January 28, 2018, and to refer the matter to the Planning and Development Committee, the Planning Director, and the Planning Board, and the ZBA. And I so move. So, Mr. Chairman, this is an amendment to the zoning ordinance, which of course impacts every resident of the city, and so as is customary in these situations, we ask that we waive the notice to each abutter.
Okay. Is that a motion? Second, it's moved and seconded. Discussion? I think we've done this in the past. Saved a lot of postage. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Now, we have the consent agenda that we did. Now we have the unanimous consent calendar that was presented a little bit late. So is there a motion to approve it? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Jamie, you're all set. All right, next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the Budget and Finance Standing Committee report of December 7th.
Councilor Memhard.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have just one item from Budget and Finance this evening under a committee report. We do have several items that will be considered later during public hearings as scheduled. So from Budget and Finance, on a motion by Councilor Orlando, seconded by Councilor Lundberg, Budget and Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council approve the disposition by means of a lease as provided in the request for proposal 18110, Good Harbor Beach Concessions, 99 Thatcher Road, concessions and restroom operation lease with a minimum bid of $100,000, and the Winkershik Beach 232 Atlantic Street concession and restroom operation lease with a minimum bid of $90,000, pursuant to the terms and conditions as stated therein. Said term is to be a 3-year term from May 1st, 2018 until November 1st, 2020, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there a narrative?
None offered, although we could ask Jim Destino to come up if we'd like to hear any more question about it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Destino?
Thank you, Mr. President. Jim Destino, the Mayor's Office, and if you would allow me first to just say to the Council, on behalf of the entire administration, it's been a pleasure working with you all for the last 2 years. It's been a great legislative session that you've all taken part in. We always haven't agreed on every issue, but we work well together, and we've got a lot done. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Mayor's Office and the entire administration for your work. So thank you. As far as the 3-year lease that comes up, I will just kind of talk about a couple of the changes in the lease, if I could. It's basically the same lease that we've seen over the years. If I can refer you to page 11 where there's, I'm sorry. Yeah, page 11 was the first change under number 2, general undertakings of the operator. There's an addition in this lease that says slush carts to be located under letter A. Slush carts to be located at agreed upon locations by the operator and the contract manager. Usually the slush carts were always at the concession stand. The new operator at the concessions the last couple of years put some big wheels on the slush cart and wheeled it around the beach. Seemed like a good idea, but the mayor found a lot of complaints coming that he was cutting through people who were laying on the beach, was dropping litter around, and so we're asking them to keep it at the concession stand. That's one change. On page 14, under F, on the top of the page, you see the operator shall only use marine degradable paper plates, cups, and other containers, accessories, dispensing, glass, styrofoam, polystyrene. This is a kind of an unintended consequence of the new ordinance that we passed, that the paper goods prices for the new vendor and the bid may be lower, and for that reason, that the paper goods, these are going to be far more expensive than that was being used. So we took that into consideration when we put it, when we talked about the bid, the minimum bid, which you're here to set tonight. But that was kind of an unintended circumstance of this, that that the paper goods prices will be going up. That's a total paper operation at the beaches, and so they'll have an added expense. For either they're using clamshells or bags or whatever they use, they have to now use marine biodegradable. A little further down in the parking facilities, under number 5, non-resident employees will receive an employee parking pass to be used for work days only. Anyone found violating the parking procedure shall lose all parking privileges. Again, employees of the concessions will get a parking pass to park there while they work, only while they work. They can't use it for any other. It doesn't make sense for them to pay for parking at the beaches when they're working at the concessions. And lastly was on the operating schedule on the same page on I, the special events the cities will supply, when we have special events at the beaches between, not the high season, the city will supply the paper products and cleaning supplies as well as staff the restrooms for the event. Again, it didn't seem right that the the vendor who was renting them, we would use his paper supplies and ask him to clean the bathrooms if we were, the city was using it. So just a couple of common sense amendments this year. Lastly, I would say that we have minimum bids. Last time around, 3 years ago, the minimum bid was $75,000 for 3 years for Good Harbor and $65,000 for Wingashiek. We recommended to B&F committee that we up those bids to $100,000 for the Good Harbor and $90,000 for Wingashiek. And I believe, Mr. Chairman, that's what you'll find in the motion tonight.
Councilors, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Testino. Okay, so you read the motion. Is it seconded? Okay, that's simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the Planning and Development Standing Committee report of December 6th.
Councilor Lundberg.
Councilor Cox will give the report. She chaired the meeting that night.
Thank you, Councilor Lundberg. We only have one motion before us this evening. The rest are public hearings. On a motion by Councilor Gilman, seconded by Councilor LeBlanc, the Planning and Committee Development voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend that the City Council approve a conservation restriction from Samuel S. Holdsworth of 293 Concord Street, sole owner for properties known as 288-292 Concord Street, 288 Concord Street, Assessors Map 249, Lot 27, 290 Concord Street, Assessors Map 249, Lot 41, and Map 41, Lot 21, and 292 Concord Street, Assessors Map 249, Lot 40, to the Essex County Greenbelt Association for the purpose of the preservation of natural resource of the City of Gloucester and being in the public interest pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 184, Section 31-33. And I so move.
Any narrative or discussion?
This land was given to the Greenbelt for a conservation restriction to preserve it. The Conservation Committee also voted 6 out of 6 present for the conservation restriction per Ken Whitaker.
Questions, councilors? All right, simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, Councilor.
The next item is the Ordinance and Administration Standing Committee report of December 4th.
We have one item from the committee report for Ordinance Administration, and the rest are all public hearings this evening. Ordinance and Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend that the City Council permit the withdrawal of Council Order 2017-049 from Councilor Nolan and Councilor Lundberg to amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 22-276, one-way streets generally in reference to Concord Street without prejudice, and I so move.
Second.
So at Ordinance and Administration the other day, we had a long discussion on the parking surrounding the West Parish Elementary School. Councilor Nolan had submitted and Councilor Lundberg had submitted an order, and we kind of tweaked it a little bit more up at Ordinance and Administration. So we thought it would be cleaner to withdraw the motion and rewrite the order the correct way without having to amend it at Ordinance and Administration and up at Council, so we can get it right the first time without confusion.
Okay, so the motion is
To withdraw.
all right. Questions, anybody? All right, so there's not really much, just a vote. A motion to withdraw has been seconded. Madam Mayor? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Next item.
Next item on the scheduled public hearings. So do you want to do that?
I will. The first,
You want to announce the second one is going to be withdrawn.
I was going to go by order, okay?
All right.
All right, so why don't you read
Okay. The first scheduled public hearing is 2017-59, Special City Council Permit 2017-12, Schoolhouse Road number 2, 3, and 4, map 262, lots 14 and 37, and Gloucester Crossing Road number 7, map 37, lots 4 and 5, for a special council permit under mixed-use overlay district pursuant to Gloucester zoning ordinance, section 5.29, including major project, Gloucester zoning ordinance, section 5.7, 5.2910, and 5.118.
Okay, this public hearing is going to be continued, so I'm going to open it and to continue it till January 23rd, 2018, pending all the information that has been requested comes in by that time. Is there anybody here that's for the Prospect Street parking? Okay, I just wanted, that motion has, that order has been withdrawn, so we're not going to be hearing it tonight. And it's going to go to the new counselor for Ward 2, and it'll be reworked at some point in time. So, Councilor Cox, do you want to say anything? Or, all right, is there a motion to withdraw? All right, there's a motion to withdraw, and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Next item.
Next item is public hearing 2017-70, loan order numbers 2017-005, loan authorization to fund East Gloucester Elementary School feasibility study in the amount of $1 million.
Okay. I open up the public hearing. Is there anybody that wants to make a presentation?
Good evening. I'm Jonathan Pope. I'm the chairman of the school committee and also the chairman of the East Gloucester Veterans Building Committee.
We can't hear you, and you're going to have to early.
Is it not working?
Counselor,
Our speakers aren't working.
there's something wrong with the microphone. It's not feeding back to us, and we can't pick it up at all.
You need to be heard. Maybe you can share it with...
I think it is working. Is that better?
Maybe if you just speak more into it. It's on.
It's on. Is it working? Okay. Speak right into it. Okay. All right. I'm here to encourage you to support this loan order. We have formed a building committee. We have gone through all of the eligibility requirements, which include basically forming a building committee, doing a maintenance plan, forming doing the enrollment projections for the future, talking about the educational plan that we are proposing for this consolidation of schools, as well as moving it forward to this point, which is, and this is the last step of the eligibility for us to move into feasibility, which is the next phase with MSBA, and is to secure the funding for the feasibility study. And that's what this proposal, this loan order is for. When we go into feasibility, we will hire an owner's project manager, a designer. We will investigate existing buildings. We will be required to look at all of the existing buildings that are possible and do an assessment of those, as well as look at all of the potential sites, as well as talking about the consolidation of the schools. There was one amendment when this was brought to BNF, and I would just like to clarify that a little bit. MSBA contacted us and told us that we should not make the attachment so specific. So it was reduced. It was previously said it was for for the consolidation of East Gloucester and Vets. And they suggested that because East Gloucester was the school that was in the statement of interest, that we only name East Gloucester in the motion. This is essential if we're going to keep moving on. We have to have all of our paperwork in by January 1st, basically. And we will then be put on the agenda for MSBA's Board of Directors meeting in February 14th, at which point they will review all of our information and hopefully accept us into feasibility. I know there's a lot of talk about this costing a lot of money. It's considerably more than what we spent when we were doing West Parish School. There is a number of reasons for that, but the main reason is that we're looking at 2 schools and we're looking at multiple sites. And all of those require investigation and site analysis and perhaps test borings and that sort of thing. Hopefully it will come, the work will come in under budget. I don't know if Rich wants to say anything.
Good evening, Council. Rich Sapphire, Superintendent. I'd like to talk a little bit about the cost, which Mr. Pope was beginning to describe. When we were first invited into the eligibility period prior to the MSBA's board's vote, we were encouraged to contact several districts to get a sense of where they were, what they spent, what they felt they should have spent, so that we could begin to think about what the figure would be based upon the considerations that we have for a new school. So we contacted Amesbury. Amesbury allocated $900,000 for a school designed for 397 students. We contacted Manchester Essex Regional. They spent a little bit less, but their overall sense was that they should have spent closer to $800,000 for a project for a school that was in the 300s. Marblehead, for a school somewhere, well, they were actually looking at 2 options. One was a school for 173 students, another for a larger school for 450. And their recommendation at the end of it is that they should have spent close to $900,000 as well. Tewksbury allocated $1.1 million for their feasibility study. They were looking at several configurations, a school for 260 students, one for 550, and one for 790. And then there's Ipswich, which was looking to combine schools as well, and they have spent in excess of $1 million for their feasibility study as well. These are also prices that are at least 1, possibly 2 years old. In a second way in which we looked at the potential cost was to look at some of the buildings that took place, some of the construction in 2016 on the website of the MSBA, and we took the average and the median percentages of the cost of the feasibility study relative to the overall construction project. We looked at Granby, Dedham, Needham, Hanover, Bourne, Newton, and the average cost of percentage was 1.70. The median was 1.76. Using the West Parish, costs of which go back to 2012 through 2014, and doing a ratio and proportion 2 different ways, one by looking at the number of students at West Parish versus the number of anticipated students should we be able to go into a consolidation, and also looking at the relative amount of square footage, again, the cost per square foot at West Parish relative to the anticipated size of a consolidated school as well. And in both cases, the estimate came in at just under about $900,000. Considering that we're looking at 2018 prices, as Mr. Pope mentioned, that there may be 3, 4, possibly 5 different sites with geologists, architects, engineers, and all the like, examining each of these particular potential areas, the $1 million seems to be a reasonable assessment based upon our research. Thank you.
And we'll be happy to answer any questions at any point, okay?
Thank you. We'll have a question period in a little bit later. Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to come up and speak in favor? Please state your name and your address, please.
I'm Carol Daigle, 11 Marina Drive, and I work for J. Barrett and Company. I'm here to give a realtor's perspective on the importance of keeping up with the times and providing the best education and tools for our kids. When families relocate to the area, high on their priority list is where and what school system will be best suited for their children. They ask about the curriculum, test scores, and they often visit our schools. First impressions count. Like purchasing a home, when a buyer first walks up to a property, they make a determination whether or not to pursue it further. Buyers comparison shop, not only for homes, but the community and educational facilities that are offered. We have so much to offer in this community. We have so much to offer with great teachers, parent involvement, and the Gloucester Education Foundation, for which I don't know what we'd do without. I tell prospective buyers that I raised 5 children in the community and now have my grandchildren in the Gloucester school system, all with great success. I also tell them raising children in Gloucester's unique and diverse community offers so much richness to their upbringing. The students and faculties deserve to have buildings and tools that are comparable to neighboring communities, new and updated facilities we can all be proud of as a community. Thank you.
Is there anybody that wants to speak in favor? Don't be shy. We're spending $1 million here, so we need to have your input.
There are lots of people ready. Lisa Garolo, 598 Western Ave. I'm speaking here in favor of approving the loan for the feasibility study because I work in the schools. I've worked in all of the schools at this point, and I see how important it is for these students and these teachers to have up-to-date facilities. I currently work in a classroom with 2 outlets, one on either side. We can't plug in computers because one of the outlets is near a sink. With technology and everything going on in the world, these students need an up-to-date place to learn. I also sat on the West Parish Building Committee, so I was a part of that process, and it was very well done and well run. And I see the students in that school proud. I see the staff in that school very proud of where they teach and how nice it is for those students to have an art room, a music room, a cafeteria with enough room for recycling, smart boards, whiteboards, plugs, outlets, up-to-date fire codes, no leaks. I could go on and on. I see that there's a huge need for Gloucester for so many reasons: real estate value, as was mentioned, and the value of our education, to vote yes for this loan approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to come and speak in favor?
Hello, Rachel Rafalo, 225 Bray Street. It seems like a few short years ago, but I was in this building, say 7 years ago, sat in the same room. I was then a prospective parent for West Parish, and I was eager to hear what the solution for West Parish was going to be. I probably attended 4 or 5 different meetings, saw the full report on the Fuller School. I listened to residents who could see that West Parish was not a safe place for children to be. I listened to residents who thought it wasn't worth the time or the money. I listened to residents who said that a building doesn't make a school, the people do. And all I can say is that West Parish is literally a dream. I have a 4th grader and a 1st grader. My son attended kindergarten in the old West Parish building. My father and I both attended West Parish. So that school meant a lot to us, but at the same time, a love or nostalgia for a building no way compares to the new one. In no way. The energy you feel when you walk in that door, and it's not only the first day, it is every single day, is literally amazing. It's palpable. You can feel it. You can see it in the kids' faces, the teachers' faces, the parents. They're happy. They know their kids are safe, that it's a fantastic learning environment. It makes such a huge difference that I probably didn't think about that to begin with either, but it is so different. Everything, the energy, the learning environment that these kids experienced from going from that old building to the new one. As Lisa was talking about, we have an amazing library. We have state-of-the-art music and art rooms, a beautiful gym, clean restrooms, therapy rooms for children that need it. These are all things that the old school did not have. The children love it, the teachers love it, the parents love it, and I know it's a slow process. I know that West Parish process was 6 years. It was worth every single meeting I went to. It was worth the 2 years that we were at St. Anne's. It was worth moving the boxes back and forth multiple times. I helped move them. It was worth every single minute we spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in favor? Please come up.
Graziella Paoni, 4 Cedarwood Road. I'm also a West Parish parent, and I wasn't planning on speaking, but I couldn't sit there quietly. That's just not who I am. I spoke several times in favor of our West Parish, and I am in favor. As you all sit here and you've seen parents come, you've heard the stories, it's where Gloucester's at, guys. We deserve all of our schools to be just as good as West Parish. Like all the speakers have said, it's amazing. And people can say, oh, well, like Rachel said, it's the feel from the teachers. But there's something to be said to have the technology and the cleanliness right at your fingertips. It gives the kids something to be proud of each and every day, and it trickles on. That's our future. That's the future of Gloucester. And I know, and I do this almost at every time I speak, because there are people that are intimidated, aren't public speakers. So if you are here tonight in favor, stand up and show your support. Thank you.
Okay, while you're standing here, are you in favor of this? Could you please stand so we can get a count?
I'll get one side of the room, Dana. We got 13 on this side.
Thank you.
I stood.
Okay, anybody else that wants to speak in favor?
Hi, I'm Aria McElhenney, Aria McElhenney, 19 Allen Street. I have 3 kids. One of them already went through East Gloucester. One of them is still there. And I have a 3-year-old who will hopefully eventually be in our schools, and I'm speaking in strong favor of this proposal. I have seen the reality of East Gloucester, which is an amazing community, and we have amazing teachers, as we do at every elementary school in Gloucester, and I feel that our children, every child in the city deserves to have a learning environment that can accommodate their learning style and keep up with the educational program that the city is trying to implement. And right now, that is being compromised in our schools. When we have schools where tiles are falling out of the ceiling, where the heating system isn't working, it means that the kids aren't learning and the teachers aren't able to teach in the way that they want to teach. So I really hope that we can push this proposal forward. And I think that if we can go to this next level, it will make a huge difference for our whole city and for the community of Gloucester. not just our kids, not just the teachers, but the community as a whole deserves to have up-to-date schools that can accommodate all of our kids. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in favor? Please come up.
Hi, Christy Lampert, 41B Friend Street. I'm in a unique situation. I am a parent of a veteran student, and I'm also one of 5 literacy coaches, and I am the literacy coach at Veteran School. So I'm here to speak on behalf of my colleagues and as well as my fellow members on the Veterans PTO. We fully support a consolidation of vets in East Gloucester together. I would love the opportunity to work in a brand new building like the teachers get to do at West Parish every single day. And I'd also like the opportunity for not only my first grader, but for my preschooler to be able to learn in the type of environment that they have at West Parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in favor?
My name is Adam Roselle, 38 Summer Street. I organize a parent-run cleanup of East Gloucester. We're in charge of building
Raise your
ground.
mic up just a little bit so we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Adam Roselle, 38 Summer Street. I organize a parent volunteer cleanup and fix-up of the school, Buildings and Grounds Committee. And there have been some desperate attempts to expand the facility, upgrade the facility. It's a constant battle trying to keep things clean, trying to keep things organized and running smoothly over there. So we're new parents in Gloucester, and we'd really appreciate the opportunity to explore this further. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Since we gave the people that were in favor the opportunity to raise their hand, is there anybody that has concerns or opposition on this? So they know you can raise your hand and we can put you on the record also. You don't have to say anything. All right, should let the record show that there was nobody that was in opposition. Is there any communications, Madam Clerk?
There are none.
Councilors, do you have any questions? All right, we'll start with Councilor LeBlanc.
Mr.
Who do you want to call up?
So can you explain the benefits of the feasibility from MSBA that we're going to, why we have to have a feasibility and what it triggers in case we are selected?
Sure. First of all, for us to be subsidized in the building of this new school, we have to go through MSBA's process. And this is a module. They have 8 modules, and this is a necessary step. We have to do this just as we had to fill out a statement of interest and go through the eligibility period, which this is the end of. Now we will go into feasibility. The advantages of feasibility are, and the advantage of the way the MSBA works today as opposed to, say, when the high school renovation was done, is it's incredibly more professional. And this is one of the reasons that it costs money, is the MSBA requires that we hire not just sort of a foreman, but when the high school was done, they had a clerk of the works who was basically held a building contractor's license, I believe, was the requirement. Right now, we have to hire an owner's project manager that has to be certified by the state, has to be a registered architect and or engineer, and is a firm. And there's only so many of these people that are certified by the state, and when there's limits to how many people you can choose from, then the price goes up, I'm afraid. But what you get is a very professional oversight of the building project. The same requirements are made for the designer, which once we have an owner's project manager on board, the building committee works with them, and we put out an RFP for the designer. And once again, this MSBA is very strict as to who you can hire, and they have input on who you can hire. There's only so many certified architectural firms that have met the MSBA standards. There are a number of other things that we go through, that we step through. They will make us, what? Yeah, what? You want to hear about the, we are currently rated to get 58% reimbursement for eligible expenses. Now, 58 sounds really good, and that was pretty much the amount of reimbursement that we got from on West Parish, but not every expense is eligible. Site work is very limited. Purchase, if we had to purchase property, that wouldn't require. The swing space was not eligible. And there are different square footage things that they allow. We, when they built that large gym, some of that was not quite eligible. A lot of people talked about why we didn't have room for stands in that gym, but frankly, it would have been on our dime to make that gym any bigger. There's those kind of things. So it's 58%. It should.
It's a good chunk of change, 58%, if we get it back. You know, I was part of there's a few of us up here that were part of the West Parish since day one.
Sure.
And it was nice to get, I think we got more than 58% back on that one, didn't we? Because we were so green. What was the final number?
That's true. There are a number of things that you can do. They set the base rate, and then there are a number of things that you can get points for to actually up that that reimbursement rate. And one of them is building a green building, and there are other things. Contracting with a putting it rather than putting out for bids, but getting a I'm trying to remember what they call it, contractor on board during the design phase. You also get points for that too.
Councilor Gilman.
Jonathan, can you give us a feel for the competition for this round of MSBA that we are now into the feasibility phase for? That would be very important to me, because I know that these are very competitive right now, and
yes.
You don't want to be snoozing, but because we could lose. So maybe you could expand on that for us.
Well, when we submitted our statement of interest last year, there were, I think, about 88 or 89 requests, and they accepted 17. And this is done by need. It's not done by how long you've been on the list or this and that. They came and looked at East Gloucester School, and they said, this is, of all the applicants, it's in the top level of need. And so by being accepted into eligibility, what they'll be looking at to move us on into feasibility is the viability of the project and the community support. That's what they'll be looking at. It's unlikely that we would not be able to make it into the next phase as long as we get the funding to pay for it.
Councilor Orlando.
Thank you. I think your answer to Councilor LeBlanc was obviously very informative, and I appreciate it. But just to boil it down for the folks in the audience and watching on TV, if we don't do this, we're not eligible for the next step, correct?
That's right.
So if we don't do this, there's no reimbursement, there's no 58%, there's no nothing. We're just building it on our own.
Right.
Thank you.
There's no plan B.
I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. As far as sites, what sites are you considering at this point?
MSBA will make us look at both of the existing sites of the veteran site and the East Gloucester site, and they will make us look at whether those buildings could be renovated to fit the requirements. We went through that whole process with West Parish, and essentially just to meet new standards, we would have had to tear down more of the building than we would have saved. We're looking at city-owned sites. We're not looking at privately owned sites at this point. There seems to be enough city-owned sites that that would be adequate, that are large enough. We're looking at Green Street. There's a substantial piece of land between the playground and Ledgemont. So there's the playing fields, and there's 13 acres there. And in addition to that, there's another 2.5 acres on Essex Street, which I'm not sure would come into play for any reason, but it's close by. We're looking at some land on Harrison Avenue that the city owns. We're looking at, as we were, the Pines and Swinson's Field. Those are the sites. The building committee will probably prioritize those. We've been doing site visits, and once we get into feasibility and start to bring on a owner's project manager, we'll probably prioritize those sites, and it would be a case of they'd look at them all, but they would, if they agreed with our priority, they would probably concentrate on working on that site. We haven't done that yet, but we're still in the process of trying to get everybody, and we've invited the councilors to come and do the walk around of the sites too. So.
Fuller School?
It's not been indicated to us by the city that is available.
Okay. Thank you.
And, Jonathan, wait a minute. No? Councilor Cox.
Actually, I have a question for Mr. Dunn. If we are not selected, if this is approved this evening and we are not selected to move forward, what happens with our order?
We could just rescind the order.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else questions? I've got a question for Jonathan again. You're the man that knows it all, so. Can you go over, with what we did at West Parish? I know there are some expenses. One of them is going to be the study that we're going to do, moving costs, relocation, and how that after it's all said and done, what is reimbursable and what isn't. So to get that 59% as a reimbursement. Can you start off with what we're doing here tonight with $1 million?
These funds, should the project go forward to completion, would be part of the expenses.
Towards the end, to the total cost of the school.
If you appropriate this money and for some reason the building doesn't happen, it's not reimbursable.
Right, but I'm saying that if it does happen,
yeah,
moving forward, whatever the final cost of the building, what we're doing.
I don't know if it's 100% reimbursable. See, they put caps. This would come under design, and they put caps on a percentage of the cost of the project, that can be spent on design, just as they do on site work. Site work can't be more than 10% of the total cost of the building. So if we build on a site that requires a lot of site work, then there's a cap on what can be reimbursed. They also have square footage. They have if the building ends up costing $450 a square foot, I think their cap is probably about $380 it changes. These things change all the time. But we didn't get reimbursed for, but to put it in perspective, West Parish, including the swing space and all of that cost about $38 million in change, and we got back from the state, I think, about 17.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is the cost of the feasibility study. After it's all said and done and added to whatever the cost, will that be included in the 60%?
If it's all said and done, and if the
It was done in West Parish, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and some of the costs of St. Anne's?
No, none of that.
No?
We got reimbursed.
So it's just strictly the feasibility study?
Well, the design work and the feasibility study is part of the design. It's my belief, my understanding. I can double check that for you. But like I say, we got to go through to the end
Right.
for it. If we don't get it, then we're not getting anything back.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, anybody? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a committee report? That's you.
Budget and Finance, on a motion by Councilor Orlando, seconded by Councilor Lundberg, voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council authorize the following loan order. Order that the city appropriate the amount of $1 million for the purpose of paying costs of a feasibility study for the East Gloucester Elementary School located at 8 Davis Street Extension, Gloucester, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, and for which the city may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA, said amount to be expended under the direction of the Gloucester School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law 44, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any costs the city incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this note, less any premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. And I so move.
Do you have a narrative, or has enough been said?
I think enough's been said, although I can say personally, as the ward councilor for Ward 1, Precinct 1, Ward 1, Precinct 2, that I've received a large number of contacts from constituents urging us to proceed.
Okay, so we're at council discussion. Why don't we start with Councilor Orlando and work our way down?
Thank you. For the record, earlier we talked about communications and it said there was none, but I got 5 or 6 emails, I believe, in the last couple of days.
They have to be with certain days before.
Okay, that may be why, but just for the record, I did get at least 5 or 6 folks writing all in support of the loan order. I'm going to be supporting the loan order tonight as well. I think, our elementary schools, all, with the exception of, I believe, Fuller at the time, were built between World War II and the Korean War, which is a long freaking time ago, and they're all in rough shape. So we have to do for our children what we can to put them in an environment that is best for them to learn to the best of their ability, because they deserve the best, because they're our future. I will say we have 4 elementary schools that need to be replaced, not 2. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I said at the BNF a standing committee meeting that I would appreciate if there's any benefit that we can derive from this feasibility study that we can learn from for the future for the other 2 elementary schools that we hope to replace in the future. To do so and to look at other sites potentially, even other parts of town that may be feasible if the city owns them, and we can save ourselves some taxpayer money and maybe apply it to the other school we have to build. And I'd appreciate that the school committee look into those things. I know you're all doing very hard work and you're doing a great job with it, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I actually think this is a kind of a no-brainer, because if we don't do this, we don't get 55, 58, 59, 60, whatever percent, we just don't get it reimbursed. We're not eligible if we don't take this step. So I hope the rest of the council will be supporting this as well for our kids. Thanks.
Councilor Cox.
I will also be supporting this order. I had the honor of reading 3 first grade classes last Friday through the First R program, and West Parish is a lovely school, and all of our children deserve to have a facility like that. So I think this is an important first step toward that goal. And I've also had the pleasure of reading at East Gloucester and Veterans, and I have seen firsthand what the teachers and the students are dealing with. So I do look forward to ribbon cutting for new schools in the future for our children.
Councilor Lundberg.
Yes, I will also be supporting this. I think that many of us have had the conversations over the years about the value of the Gloucester Public School System. And we also recognize that one of the greatest values is the elementary years. That's where the lifelong learning skills are nurtured and seeded. And we have proven with West Parish that it's not just a building. It really is a cohesion of the community. And it really enhances learning. So this is a great project for the city to embark upon, and we'll continue until we're done. So,
thank you. Councilor Gilman.
I too will be supporting this, and I did do some research today because I was interested in some updated information, and it was interesting to read that since 2004, MSBA has made over $12.5 billion in reimbursements for school construction. Also, 650,000 of today's 900,000 students in Massachusetts are all either attending a school that has been reimbursed through MSBA or have attended in the past. So it's really amazing how important MSBA is, because what else can you get with 58% reimbursement? And then the final thing I wanted to say is I recollect the day that we did the ribbon cutting at West Parish, and I had just ended my 6 years on the school committee, and I was sitting there as a resident just rooting on the field, and we were so proud. I mean, I will never forget that day. I remember Councilor LeBlanc came over and gave me one of the gold shovels because, our old school committee 10 years ago was part of bringing this to fruition, and all of our kids deserve this type of 21st century learning environment. So we'd be crazy not to push ahead. So I will be supporting this, and thank you for the school committee for your hard work in bringing this forward. Thank you.
Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. I'll be supporting this, but I want to speak. I've knocked on a few doors, and during the campaign season, this campaign 2 years ago, our infrastructure, and everyone knows it, is not in great shape. We owe it to every student, more importantly to the parents of those students, to be able to provide them the finest of education. When they cross Newell Stadium, and I said this to many people, we know that the student knows that they know it all, and we know that they don't. Part of their learning experience, obviously, is in those buildings. I want to commend, people have said the East Gloucester and Vets and Plum Cove and Beaman are in rough shape, but Mike Hale and his crew, including the mayor and Mr. Destino, I commend them for maintaining the buildings to the highest priority. We have work that we have to continue to do to maintain those buildings, because we all know that this is going to be a long journey to build, whether it's 1 or 2 schools, and to replace Beaman and Plum Cove. I want to commend everyone here tonight and everyone who wrote letters, which we just got another letter at 7:11 tonight. So everyone's out there sounding off, and please continue to be participating in the goings-on in the city, because we work for you, we work for your children. We lose, I think I've spoken to Mr. Destino, we've lost in the neighborhood of $2 million to students choicing out. And I'm sure part of the reason why parents are taking their students out of Gloucester is the infrastructure. So hopefully we can turn that around and bring those students into Gloucester from out of town. So again, I will be supporting, and thank you very much for everyone coming here tonight.
Councilor LeBlanc.
So there are a few of us up here that had the pleasure of doing the West Parish School a few years ago. Going through the feasibility, going through the whole process, the ribbon cutting, the first shovel in the ground that day. It was a really good experience. I've also had the pleasure of being in throughout this every school in the city over the past few years with the first R reading to the kindergartners and first graders. So I see what the conditions of some of the other schools are. West Parish is beautiful. My kids are, one in college, one's going to graduate this year, so I won't benefit from a new school. So I know it's important to the residents and people that are looking to come. We heard from Mrs. Daigle about talking about people choicing in or people moving to Gloucester and seeing that we are committed to our education. So I'm going to support this tonight. I think it's great. I think the MSBA reimbursement is huge to our city, and I think our last school, I'm pretty sure, I think we got 62% back reimbursement because we did a little bit extra with the points. So that's a good chunk of change that we're going to get back for this. So, for the $1 million that we're going to spend, we may get back, $30 million or $20 million. So it's a good investment on my stance. So, like I said, I will support this. I echo the rest of my councilors. Joe Orlando, this is a no-brainer to me, so this is a yes vote.
I will also be supporting this tonight. And as Councilor LeBlanc referred to tonight about the council that moved forward with the West Parish School, and at that time when we had to do the feasibility study, and it was kind of like the first time for us, and what, it's a big chunk of money that we were spending and what we were going to get out of it. But one of the things that happened with the West Parish School is that we have a viable blueprint to how to build a good modern school with the help of the state in refunding and helping pay for it. Gloucester has a long history of missing the boat when it comes to federal and state funding. In recent years, I think we've kind of realized it now that if there is help out there, we should make sure that it comes our way. When we opened up the West Parish School, somebody made a comment to me about why did we have to build the Taj Mahal as a school, that it was just too beautiful, too well done. And I very rarely, lose my temper. But that really got to me. And I said, you don't think that the children of Gloucester deserve to be in a building that's a Taj Mahal? You call it a Taj Mahal. I call it a functional modern building that's going to serve the city for the next 20 years. And I also said to that person that if that building was built in Manchester or in Rockport, you'd be the first one to say, why can't we do the same thing here? So we have to look at the outlook. And at that time, I told that person that West Parish was going to be the gold standard for what schools are going to be like in the city of Gloucester. We have to start somewhere. We started there. We built that school. It came in under budget, unheard of nowadays, and that's a credit to the school committee. But we've learned from that, and now we're moving forward again on this next school. The end result is we have to replace those schools. And if this is our opportunity to get that 58 or 59% reimbursement, that's a big chunk of change. And we need to all work together to make sure that it all happens. And I think you're going to find, and like Councilor O'Hara said, about kids that are choicing out. 5 years from now, this is what we're talking about, is when this school probably will go online. And that's when the choice out, the kids will stay in Gloucester, because we have a school that is technology savvy. It's a beautiful building. And one of the things I learned about the West Parish School is that there's a constant filtration of air that goes through the building. So if you ever go to the front door or one of the doors, you have to use both hands to open it up. And my question was, why is such a force of air inside the building all the time? And the thing is, the codes nowadays is that you have to change the air in the building. And what that does, it keeps the kids awake. It doesn't make them go to sleep, and because of the lack of oxygen or the lack of movement of the air. So this is a good thing. Gloucester's not going to miss the boat anymore. We're going to get on board and we're going to move forward and work together on this. So I will be supporting this tonight. We're going to do a roll call vote, and then we're going to ask for move to a motion for reconsideration so we can get this thing moving. Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Gilman?
Yes.
Councilor Blank?
Yes.
Councilor Lundberg?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Orlando?
Yes.
Councilor Schlino?
Yes.
Councilor Cox?
Yes.
Yeah.
The motion for loan order 2017-005 for a loan authorization, the amount of $1 million to fund the East Gloucester Elementary School feasibility study passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
Councilor LeBlanc.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider.
There's a motion to reconsider on the table. Just to explain why we're doing this, is that we want to get it on record and we want to get it to the state that it's a done deal. And because of the late hour in the year, and we're not going to meet again. So this really kind of seals it, and nobody can change their mind. So, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Gilman?
No.
Councilor LeBlanc?
No.
Councilor Lundberg?
No.
Councilor Memhard?
No.
Councilor O'Hara?
No.
Councilor Orlando?
No.
Councilor Schlino?
No.
Councilor Cox?
No.
The motion to reconsider the loan authorization in the amount of $1 million fails on a vote of 8 opposed and 1 absent.
Okay. Signed, sealed, and delivered. School Department. Yeah, Councilor LeBlanc.
I'd just like to state that I talked to Councilor Nolan before the meeting tonight. He wasn't feeling well, so he's not here tonight. But he said he was going to support this also, just to get that out there, that Sean's in supportive of this.
One other small thing too is that when you send emails to the city councilors, always CC the city clerk, because we might get it, but unless the city clerk gets it, it's not going to be put into communications. It just FYI moving forward. All right, next item.
Next item is public hearing 2017-006 17-071 for Special City Council Permit 2017-13, 120 Maplewood Avenue, Maplewood School, map 39, lot 4, modification of Special Council Permit 2015-004, granted under Gloucester zoning ordinance section 1.83, 2.3.18, 5.71, 1.101A, 1.10.1A3, 3.2.2 footnote 8, and major projects section 5.71.
I will open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor?
Hi there, my name is Jim Perrine. My address is 1588 Cambridge Street, Cambridge. Can't hear? Okay, there we go, a little closer.
Move it up closer to you.
How's this? Jim Perrine, 1588 Cambridge Street, Cambridge. We're requesting minor revisions and an extension to the City Council special permit that was issued in December of 2015, about 2 years ago. The project, the Maplewood Avenue School project, involves the adaptive reuse and restoration of the existing building to create 12 residential condominium units. We have secured our construction financing. We're pretty much ready to go, and we're looking forward to being able to close on the property subject to your approval of our request. At any rate, the initial permit is due to expire shortly, and so we're asking for an extension of that permit, and we're also asking for a modification to the plans that were approved, and the only modification we're asking for is to change how we label some of the rooms so that we will wind up with 10 of the units will have what was labeled as a study or family room will become a bedroom. So we will wind up with 10 two-bedroom units and 2 one-bedroom units. So it involves no change to the physical plans, no change to the floor plans, no change to the site plan, except for relabeling some of the rooms. And this is being requested by our construction lender in order to support an appraisal that's sufficient to lend us the portion of the money we need to do the construction. We're also requesting that the earlier decision be modified to remove the reference to an earlier purchase and sale agreement from 2013, which has since expired. One of the points in that previous purchase and sale agreement involved a payment that was proposed to be made to the Gloucester Affordable Housing Trust in lieu of providing a second affordable unit. We instead are providing 2 affordable units. So that is, I think, the key thing, the key difference. At any rate, I hope to support it, and I have to say, we've had a lot of good support from the neighbors. We had a very well-attended, very supportive neighborhood meeting, and we're all, I think, looking forward to being able to get in, renovate the property, and have it looking really, really nicely. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in favor? Please come up. Seeing none, is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, are there any communications?
There are none.
Councilors, do you have any questions?
Just one quick question for the applicant. Just for the record, would you be able to just recite from our zoning Section 1.8.3, the 6 criteria necessary for a special city council permit. Thank you.
I have, I don't have that in front of me, but I do have some points that I think relate to the zoning ordinance and may very well relate to what you're saying. It meets social and community needs by providing housing for people of various income levels. It does not hinder traffic flow or safety. The traffic, of course, it's been a long time since it was a school, but the traffic generated from the property will certainly be a good deal less than it was as a school. It is serviced by adequate utilities and other public services, and in particular, we at our expense had a new water service brought to the edge of the property prior to the repaving of Maplewood Avenue. It reinforces the neighborhood character and social structure, and in particular, again, by restoring the building and having people live in it, it will, I think, make a good change. It, I have to say, protects qualities of the natural environment in that it, again, we'll be doing some plantings around the site. We'll be having some energy efficient and water efficient fixtures. And I think it will have a positive impact on the city, where right now there's no tax money being received. And once we have a dozen units paying taxes, then there'll be certainly a benefit to the city. I hope those were the points. And I have to say, I know that those points were determined or were addressed by the Zoning Board of Appeals and by the City Council previously, and I think nothing significant that I can see has changed from that. Thank you.
Correct. That does satisfy my request, and that's
thank you.
exactly what we were looking for. Thank you for that. That's all.
Councilor Blank.
Yes, and also to answer Councilor Lundberg's question, it does meet all the criteria because we had the applicant up at P&D and they went over pretty much everything there. So I appreciate Jim for giving it a good stab at it.
Thank you.
But so we did have a well-attended neighborhood meeting. Councilor Orlando, Councilor O'Hara in attendance with us that day. One of the concerns, and also one of the concerns the other day from a resident at Planning and Development, was some fencing. So, and I know we talked about putting up some fences at the time at the neighborhood meeting. So my request is to put fencing up, maybe like a stockade, on either side of the property. Not so much the street sides, but the building sides. So when people are pulling in and out of their parking spots on the property, that they won't get lights and things like that, and just kind of, it'll keep the noise in a little bit. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you can do that,
Will do.
You'll have my vote tonight.
Do you want to put that down as a condition? Sure. Because, yeah, add it to it, so sometimes, we forget. That way it's down on the record. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a committee report?
Yes, on a motion by Councilor LeBlanc, seconded by Councilor Gilman, Planning and Development Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council grant the application by Schoolhouse Residences to Residences LLC to modify the special council permit for 120 Maplewood Avenue, map 39, lot 4, granted October 13, 2015, under GZO sections 1.8.3, 2.3.1, parens 8, 5.7.1, 1.10.1A1, 1.10.1A3, 3.22 footnote A, and major project permit section 5.7.1, and now as shown on plans revised by the City Council, November 14, 2017, prepared by Derby Square Architects, Salem, Mass. For Schoolhouse Residences, LLC for Maplewood School Residences, 120 Maplewood Avenue, Gloucester, Mass. And is signed by registered architect William J. Peterson as follows. 1, that page 4 of the decision currently references a no longer valid August 28, 2013 purchase and sale agreement. Therefore, that sentence is hereby struck from the record. 2, the decision by reference approved floor plans identifying 10 units with a room identified either as a quote study end quote or a quote family room end quote. The set of plans as part of the named architectural plans above now supersede any previous accepted floor plans and show a building with those 10 unit rooms labeled as quote bedroom end quote. Therefore, the Maplewood School Residences now consist of 10 2-bedroom and 2 1-bedroom units. And 3, an extension of the council's special permit decision is hereby extended 180 days through June 1, 2018, and I so move.
Second.
Is there a motion to amend?
I'd like to make a motion to amend, just to put item number 4 as putting adequate fencing on the property facing the abutters. If you look at the building, it would be the front of the building, the facade, and the back of the building, and not the Acacia Street side. So just to put up some adequate fencing would be my condition.
I think it needs to be solid, so to be specified.
Yes, some
So, you know,
solid stockade
So a
fence.
chain link fence doesn't do, all right, solid.
Solid stockade fence, please.
I'll second that.
All right. It's been moved and seconded on the amendment to the main motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now on the main motion, do we need roll call? Absolutely.
So, as I spoke earlier about the neighborhood meeting that was very well attended, I went to 75 homes in the immediate area. We had probably 50, 60 people there that night, and no opposition. I think the people are understanding that this needs to be done, and also removing the label of living room or study to put them as a bedroom. I think part of the problem was with the previous purchaser is that he couldn't get the finance for the 1-bedrooms. So I think labeling these as 2 bedrooms is going to solidify things a little bit more for the developer now. And like I said, it was very well attended, and there was no opposition at all throughout the neighborhood.
Anybody else? Councilor Orlando.
I'd like to thank the applicant for proposing to include 2 affordable units on the property, something we badly need in this community. There's a diversity of housing, including a significant amount of affordable units. 2 more is 2 more, and that's great, and we appreciate it, I think, as a council, as we have all been dealing with this issue. At least since I've been on the council for the past 2 years, we've been trying to find different creative solutions to doing it, and when developers do it, we appreciate it, so thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Gilman.
Yeah, I will be supporting this special permit for a few reasons. Number one, this location has become an eyesore, and sprucing it up and making it lovely, new condominiums, not for rent, right? They're for purchase, with the 2 affordable units is really in our best interest, particularly based on the needs of so many people in Gloucester. I also appreciate the applicant, instead of doing the in lieu, of actually doing the 2 1-bedroom, 1,200 square foot units, of which one is ADA compliant, which I think is great. And this is just the right thing to do. No one here in opposition tonight, thanks to Mr. LeBlanc and reaching out with other counselors. So I'll definitely be supporting this, so thank you.
Anybody else? I get to vote on this one more time. I think the first time I voted on it was I was on Budget and Finance with Councilor Justino back in 2001, and we cut a deal, and we thought that was going to stick, and of course, it didn't. So
I was 17, for the record. I was 17 years old.
Okay.
For the record.
So we did it, and that fell through, and it's gone through numerous variations of it, but it's certainly nice to see that it's finally coming together. And the neighbors always wanted units that have ownership, and that's what they're getting. Ida Christopher has been working very hard on this for years and years and years and years, and a lot of the other neighbors have worked with her on it. So I will certainly be supporting this, and good work to the administration and P&D for putting it together on the planning board. Okay, roll call vote.
Councilor Gilman. Councilor LeBlanc.
Yes.
Councilor Lundberg.
Yes.
Councilor Memhard.
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara. Yes. Councilor Orlando.
Yes.
Councilor Shalino.
Yes.
Councilor Cox. Yes. Motion to grant a special city council permit for 120 Maplewood Avenue for a modification of the special city council permit of 2015-004 passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
All right. Next item.
Thanks, Jim.
Get it built.
Okay. Next item is public hearing 2017-072, the recommendations of the Community Preservation Committee for Round 8 FY17 funds.
This is one of the things we look forward to the whole year is this disbursement of funds from the Community Preservation Act, and to see how this money is being filtered into the city to help a lot of these nonprofits, to do repairs and make their part of the city viable for future generations. So I'm going to hand it over to Councilor Menhard to start this. I'm going to open up the public hearing. You have a plan?
I believe we're going to have, we have 9, this is the 8th round of our community preservation program. Just acknowledge, I believe it was administration of Mayor Bell back in time that had the foresight to institute this tax assessment, which we, similar to the school MSBA program, we qualify for substantial matches from the state, through the state, to attend to these dream projects that improve the quality of life in our city. We have 9 projects. I believe the total expenditure being approved this evening between the 9 projects is just under $200,000. And I think the first one we're going to take out of order will be project number 4, the Sergeant Murray Gilman Huff House Association for the museum's roof, in an amount of $61,500.
Is there anybody to speak in favor?
Thank you. Yeah, right into it.
Hi, I'm Joanne Michalak. I'm here to speak in support of this recommendation of $61,500 to rehabilitate the failing roof and gutters of the Sargent House Museum. Want to make a couple points. In 2001, the museum received a Massachusetts Historical Commission Preservation Grant Project Fund matching grant for a new roof. And it required that the museum hire an architectural preservation consultant, develop specific specifications for the project, including nail requirements, and that included hot dip galvanized nails. And soon after, the specifications for this kind of construction changed to stainless steel nails, not from China. In 2016, our building inspection contractor submitted a report stating that the roof and gutters needed rehabilitation because the nail heads were no longer attached to the shanks of the nails. This was years before the 20-year warranty of the shingles and the nails, and it created a roof funding emergency. We immediately started counting the shingles that were falling from the roof, and by the time we were done, we had 150 fallen shingles, mainly on the north and the east side. So in your packet, you have 4 photos. The first two are of the three areas of the roof that have no shingles currently covering the underlayment, so that's just to show that it is an emergency. The next two photos are, the first one is the top of a shingle showing the nail head, but the next one is the underside of the shingle that shows no shank attached to that shingle. In other words, it's there on the roof being held in place, waiting for a gust of wind to take it off, and the shingle will fall down around the neighborhood. That's my presentation. It is an emergency. We are very appreciative of getting this recommendation. Hope you will support it.
Thank you. Is there anybody to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Any communications?
None.
Questions, councilors? All right, close the public hearing. Call for the committee report.
The Budget and Finance Committee, on a motion by Councilor Orlando, seconded by Councilor Lundberg, unanimously recommends that the City Council appropriate up to $61,500 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Sergeant Murray Gilman Huff House Association for the purpose of restoration and preservation of the museum's roof in order to preserve an historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the historic preservation category to be funded from unrestricted reserves in Fund 4500. The project will be tracked by the Community Preservation Fund Historic Preservation Funds Project number 4733, and I so move.
Do you have a narrative or anything? Any council discussion? Just all in favor, say aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
Roll call vote.
Oh, we got to do roll call votes on all these.
Roll call votes. Councilor Gilman?
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Councilor Lundberg?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara? Yes. Councilor Orlando?
Yes.
Councilor Schlino?
Yes.
Councilor Cox? Yes. The motion to appropriate up to $61,500 to the Sergeant Murray Gilman Howe House Association for the purpose specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent.
Okay. Next item, Councilor.
So the next on our list, and because Scott and I decided to split this one up, because there's a lot of them, is the Essex County Greenbelt Association Sanefield Handicap Access Trail Project.
Okay. I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is David McKinnon with Essex County Greenbelt. I'm here tonight to request $5,000.
You've got to speak up, please.
I'm here tonight to request $5,000 from the CPC for an accessible trail up at the Sanefield property in Bass Rocks. The Greenbelt will be contributing $21,000 towards this project. We've received letters of support from the Mayor's Office, Open Space Committee, Cape Ann Trail Association, and the Cape Ann Transit Authority.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody to speak in opposition? Councilors, do you have any questions? Okay, I just have one question for you, and we talked about a budget and finance. I asked you that you have a meeting with the neighbors, so when you bring your equipment in there, the phones don't ring off the hook here at City Hall, okay?
Correct. Yes, we'll be notifying all of the abutters when the work will be done.
Let them know what you're doing, and so they know they can be part of the process, okay?
Correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any questions, Counselor? No? Close the public hearing. Is there a committee report?
So on a motion by Councilor Lundberg, seconded by myself, the Budget and Finance Subcommittee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend the City Council appropriate up to $5,000 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for the purpose of Essex County Greenbelt Association to rehabilitate and improve handicap accessible trails on property known as St. Fields off of Farrington Avenue in Gloucester, Massachusetts. The appropriation will be allotted to the open space and recreational category and funded from open space and recreational reserves in the fund as specified. The project will be tracked in the Community Community Preservation Fund, Open Space Projects Fund as specified, and I so move.
Council discussion. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Counselor Lundberg?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard?
Yes.
Counselor O'Hara?
Yes.
Counselor Orlando?
Yes.
Counselor Shalino?
Yes.
Counselor Cox? The motion to appropriate up to $5,000 to the Essex County Greenbelt Association for the purpose specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent.
Okay, Councilor Orlando?
The next one, I believe, is over to Scott Memhard.
Thank you, Councilor.
What are you doing, dueling?
We're playing banjos here. The next Community Preservation Act this evening to be considered is the Stage Fort Park Advisory Committee, Public Works Department of the City of Gloucester, Stage Fort Park Restoration Plan in the amount of $32,944.
David Dow, Chair of the Stage Fort
Hold on,
Park.
David. Open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor? Okay, David?
Once again, David Dow, Chair of the Stage Fort Park Committee. We're here looking for your blessing to spend $34,000 and change to begin the restoration of the fort at Stage Fort Park. The first stage of funding will cover funds to secure timbers to build carriages for 3 of the cannons. That'll also include having cast iron wheels made for these cannons. These cannons will be very accurate reproductions. And we have originally had some money in there, $20,000 for planning, but this has been shifted over a bit for some archaeological work, which Mike Hale is heading up for the city. But this is what we want to do to begin the restoration of the fort. So during our 400th, the fort will be finished. We will have cannons that will look fantastic. The renovations will be done, and we'll be able to fire the cannons during city events and that sort of thing. So we would appreciate your approval and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Are there any questions, councilors? Any committee, let me close it. Committee report, please.
The committee is looking forward to the cannons being fired. On a motion by Councilor Orlando, seconded by Councilor Lundberg, Budget and Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appropriate up to $32,944 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Stage Fort Park Advisory Committee and Public Works Department for the purpose of the restoration and preservation of the Stage Fort Park, quote-unquote, fort, including an historic survey and cannon carriage replacement in order to restore an historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the historic preservation category, funded from the unrestricted reserves in Fund 4500. The project will be tracked by the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Preservation Capital Projects Fund 5807. Did I so move?
Moved and seconded. Any council discussion? Councilor Orlando.
Just very quickly, this is probably the coolest one we've done. We're firing cannons, right? So that's awesome. That is also an absolute jewel that Gloucester has that I don't think we really emphasize enough for tourism purposes, and I would like to see us do more so with the 400th coming around the bend. This is a huge, awesome, great, fantastic project, and I support it. It's awesome.
Anybody else? One of the things, byproducts of this also is that there's going to be a little bit of a historic dig to find out what exactly was there, you know, when those cannons were really active. And I guess there was a small barracks up there too, so maybe they can find the foundation of that also. So it's all good. All right. Any more discussion? All right. Roll call vote.
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Counselor Lundberg?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard?
Yes.
Counselor O'Hara? Yes. Counselor Orlando?
Yes.
Counselor Shalino?
Yes.
Counselor Cox? Yes. Motion to appropriate up to $32,944 to the Stage Fort Park Advisory Committee and Public Works for the purpose as specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
All right, next item.
So the next one on our list is the Cape Ann Museum for map conservation.
Is there anybody to speak in favor? Open the public hearing.
I'm Stephanie Buck, the archivist and librarian at the Cape Ann Museum. We are asking for $3,490 to stabilize and conserve an 1851 Walling map of Gloucester and Rockport. It was created by a Mr. Henry Francis Walling, and he only made 400 individual maps of counties and cities in Massachusetts. 60 of these maps are in the the Library of Congress. This one of Gloucester and Rockport is not there. Conservation of the map is important for several reasons. It's a snapshot of Cape Ann, its business and residents before Cape Ann separated into the two distinct communities of Gloucester and Rockport, and before the introduction of the first city directory in 1860. It allows us to identify the location of particular house or business by the owner's name, or conversely, find the reverse. It's already frequently used by researchers and admired by visitors, so having it framed and hung on the wall in the museum and library will make it accessible through our website. It will protect it from further damage and increase its availability. The museum is committed to the cost of the matting and framing of this map at an estimated cost of $1,760. Finally, it's unique and it is not obtainable anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Is there any communications?
None.
All right. Close the public hearing. Is there a committee report?
Yes, on a motion by Councilor Lundberg, seconded by myself, the Budget and Finance Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend the City Council appropriate up to $3,490 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Cape Ann Museum for the purpose of the restoration and preservation of the Walling map in order to preserve an historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the Historic Preservation category and funded from the unrestricted reserves in Fund number 4500. The project will be tracked by the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Preservation Projects Fund number 4732, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilor Gilman?
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Councilor Lundberg?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Orlando?
Yes.
Councilor Schlino?
Yes.
Councilor Cox? Yes. The motion to appropriate up to $3,490 to the Cape Ann Museum for the purpose as specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
The next project before us this evening is the Ocean Alliance request for capital improvement to their seawall and foundations of Building E of the Tar and Watson paint manufacturing, the total dollar amount of $18,000.
Open the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor?
Yes, good evening. My name is Ian Kerr. I'm the CEO of Ocean Alliance. I'm sure many of you are aware that this building actually looks out towards the ocean, and it's a man-made seawall. And to the best of my knowledge, no work has gone on this seawall since 1980. And the seawall is not yet in a critical state, but I think it's in a state that now is the time to do the work before it becomes critical. I do actually have some concerns because the previously mentioned cannons are actually pointing at the paint factory. But apart from that, the total estimate of the job is $60,000, and I will endeavor, should the Community Preservation Act be willing to support this work, I will endeavor to raise the $42,000 as a match, showing the good faith of the community. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Is there anybody speaking in opposition? Are there any communications?
There are none.
Close the public hearing. Councilors, do you have any questions? Discussion? Roll call vote.
You have to make the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion so we can vote on it.
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good. Good idea.
The Budget and Finance Committee, on a motion by Councilor Lundberg, seconded by Councilor Orlando, voted unanimously to recommend that our City Council appropriate up to $18,000 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Ocean Alliance, Inc. for the purpose of the restoration and preservation of the seawall and foundation for Building E of the Tar and Wanson Paint Manufactory in order to preserve an historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the Historic Preservation category, funded from unrestricted reserves in Fund 4500. The project will be tracked in the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Preservation Projects Fund 4734, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Councilor Gilman?
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Councilor Lundberg?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara? Yes. Councilor Orlando?
Yes.
Councilor Shalino?
Yes.
Councilor Cox? Yes. The motion to appropriate up to $18,000 to the Ocean Alliance, Inc. for the purposes specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent.
Okay. Next item.
So I'm up for, I think, 2 in a row now. The first is the Lanesville Community Center for Virginia Lee Burton Little House for $30,000.
Project number 6 is what you're reading?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Lanesville Community Center.
Open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor?
Good evening, councilors. My name is Chris Wagner from 54 High Street, and I'm also the president of the Lanesville Community Center. You may know that there have been many illustrious artists and authors and craftspeople on Cape Ann during our long history. I'd like to call your attention to the author of Mike Mulligan's Steam Shovel and the Little House, also one of the founders of the Folly Cove Designers, Virginia Lee Burton Demetrios. In 1963, Virginia Lee Burton put up a small writing cottage on Folly Point, and that cottage was purchased as a prefab building from the Building Center. And she used that cottage in her creative endeavors for many years. Fast forward almost 50 years later, the property had been sold, and Virginia Lee Burton's nephew, Sandy Burton, who's in attendance tonight, had the opportunity to obtain the building from the current owner. And the building has been in storage, flat, and shrink-wrapped on his property for the last 5 years, and the time became apropos to bring that building to the community center to re-erect it as a historic structure and a center for the development of reading programs for kids in North Gloucester. So the Lanesville Community Center is working with various people in the community to bring this project about, and we have requested CPA funding, and sounds like the tune of $30,000. The project is about $50,000 total. We have various commitments from other donors and are seeking other funding to complete the project, but the $30,000 from the city will get the project going and get the walls up and the building basically dried in. So that's the long and short of it. We look forward to developing programming surrounding this historic building and its preservation for generations to come.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, are there any communications?
There are none.
Council questions? Councilor Gilman.
I just wanted to make a comment. I wanted to thank both of you. About 6 months ago, we all met to just kind of talk more about this whole process. And one of the things that I really love about this particular initiative is that it really is all about the history of Lanesville, artists, and Sandy Burton just coming here tonight. I know you had another meeting. I'm so glad that you got here to see this because it was your good foresight that was proactive to take down the building and preserve it so we can do something really special at the Lanesville Community Center. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Anybody else? Council discussion? Council Lundberg.
I just wanted to echo Councilor Gilman and thank Sandy Burton for the foresight for saving this building. It's very, very valuable. Thank you.
Anybody else? I just want to, Councilor Orlando.
Yeah, it's my last meeting. I'll say something. So I think this is a great project as well. You know, a lot of people, you know, Gloucester's history, America's oldest fishing port. Of course, we know about the arts community, but we have some very famous authors from right here in Gloucester, and we should emphasize this stuff, you know, so kids can learn in Virginia Lee Burton's writing house. That's awesome. And let's put this together. Let's help them raise the money they need to do this project. Get this done so our kids can learn in the place where a famous author wrote and learn about that famous author and dream to become famous authors themselves. That's a great thing to emphasize for the arts community, and it's also great we can pump tourism into the area as well, which is something we can all benefit from. So this is fantastic. Let's support it.
Councilor Cox.
I will be supporting this also. The second to last book that I read at West Parish was a Burton book, so it was really fun to have that experience with the first graders. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I just want to say one thing too also, that community preservation money, this is a wonderful idea to sponsor. I think without the CPA money, a lot of these little projects, it just wouldn't get off the ground. And it's a wonderful opportunity to put a little seed money into the project, and then once you have some little seed money there, you can build on that. Again, anytime that we have somebody special that really distinguished themselves in Gloucester, and the community preservation money to help with their preservation of their building, I think is a terrific idea. And the other thing that pulls at my heartstring is that it's a building center house where I worked there, and probably might have had something involved in it. But it just shows a testimony that in those days they built good, strong houses that can be put on the road and moved around. So I'm looking forward to when you have your grand opening, and I hope I get an invitation to come down and check it all out. But community preservation money is the one that makes it all possible. So, do you want to roll call vote? Or do you want to say something? We kind of closed the hearing, but you know what? We're all friends. Speak into the mic. We can hear you.
I said this at the Budget and Finance, that there was a saying when we went to Gloucester High, which is you're born here, you're raised here, you go over the bridge, and you come back to die if you're smart. And some people get nervous about that, but I want you to know that I feel it's a very proud moment to come back to this city and have this experience. Virginia Lee Burton wrote those books about values. And I can't see a higher honor of values than this kind of acknowledgement. And the children of this community will be the beneficiaries for many generations. She took the initiative to take the time, and many family members have quarreled about things internally, like all families. But those books stand for all the children, and your action keeps that in movement. I just want to thank you personally. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay. All right, let's make it official. Roll call vote, please.
Read the motion.
We'll read the motion.
All right, on a motion by Councilor Lundberg and seconded by, motion by myself and seconded by Councilor Lundberg. The Budget and Finance Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend the City Council appropriate up to $30,000 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Lanesville Community Center for the purpose of the restoration and the preservation of the studio of Virginia Lee Burton, in order to preserve an historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the historic preservation category and funded from the unrestricted reserves in the fund number 4500. The project will be tracked in the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Preservation Projects Fund number 4735, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc? Counselor Lundberg?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard? Counselor O'Hara?
Yes.
Counselor Orlando?
Yes.
Counselor Shalino?
Yes.
Counselor Cox? The motion to appropriate up to $30,000 to the Lanesville Community Center for the purpose as specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
Next item.
All right, so our next one is something I'm very fond of. Project number 7, the Gloucester Cemeteries Advisory Committee for an Historic Cemetery Repair for $9,500. Project number 7, lucky 7.
Hi, I'm Sandy Barry, 7
I'm
Rose
going to open
Lane.
up the public hearing. Is there anybody that wants to speak in favor? Okay, you're on.
Okay. I'm Sandy. We're part of the Cemetery Advisory Committee that was resurrected by Melissa Cox. We're just over a year old, and we've been working our way through at least 2 cemeteries, I think, that several of you are aware of. Jamie, Steve LeBlanc, and Joe Orlando and Melissa. We're here, and Patty Amaril's also on the committee. Carol Kelly and Beverly McKean isn't here tonight. What the First Parish Burial Ground was established in 1644. It's on the National Historic Register of Historic Places, and I don't know how many of you have been in here. I know at least 4 of you have been in here into that cemetery as well as Clark's. We have a number of volunteer crews that go in there, and we work our way through as we can. But the more severely, vandalized, the more severely cracked or destroyed stones require additional preservation care. And that's where we need to pay the professionals to do that. And that's what we're looking for the $9,500 for. We just finished $7,000 worth of work from the Massachusetts Historical Commission gave us $7,000 to restore a lot of the stones in First Parish that were Revolutionary War era stones. And now this next set of stones has to do with sea captains and some of the sea captains' wives.
Thank you. Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Are there any communications?
None.
Councilors, do you have any questions? Councilor LeBlanc.
So I just want to thank you ladies for doing an outstanding job. Not only that, as keeping the council informed with the emails that you send us. So it's nice to see, because we don't get emails from a lot of these boards and commissions, but it's nice to see you're reaching out to us, letting us know the progress. What does it cost to restore one stone, roughly?
Depends on how badly it's damaged and how it's damaged. So it can take very expert gluing, putting it together like pieces from a puzzle. They even do inlays if the stone has split, if it's like a shale that has layers in it. So that can be complicated. They can put strips of metal to hold them together. And it can be as simple as simply writing it and making it even and level and putting some pea gravel in so that it'll stay upright. And so the cost varies.
So a broken stone that's split in 2 pieces.
I could go back and get the Fannon's report and tell you how much it costs to do one of those, but I don't have it in my
I'm
head.
just curious to figure out how much the $9,500.
14.
So that'll fix 14 stones?
Should fix 14 stones that are
Okay,
pretty badly
awesome.
damaged.
Yeah, great.
That part I can tell you.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
All set? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Yes. First of all, I appreciate we switched back and forth at BNF as well, and Councilor Lundberg asked me to read this one, as it's been a project that I've been spending a lot of time on. I appreciate that. That was very nice of you. So the motion, the Budget and Finance Committee, on a motion by Councilor Orlando, myself, seconded by Councilor Lundberg, the Budget and Finance Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appropriate up to $9,500 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Gloucester Cemeteries Advisory Committee for the purpose of restoration and preservation of historic headstones in the First Parish Burial Ground in the adjoining Clark's Cemetery in order to restore an historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the historic preservation category and funded from the unrestricted reserves in the fund number 4500. The project will be tracked in the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Preservation Capital Projects Fund number 5808, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Councilor.
So I want to thank the Cemetery Advisories Committee for all your hard work on these projects. When early on in my term here on the City Council, when Mr. Clark came in front of us, I had never even heard of Clark Cemetery. And shortly after that meeting, I walked down there and I was horrified. And thanks to a lot of the councilors up here and a lot of volunteers, professional landscapers, the DPW has done a lot of in-kind work. Adam Kukru, and our Veteran Services Director, and a lot of volunteers from them. We've, through sort of public and private partnership, brought the cemeteries, or at least Clark Cemetery, back to life. And this is just another step along the way. There's a lot of damaged stones. So for some facts and figures for folks listening or interested, in Clark Cemetery, the one I've spent more time focusing on, there's 26 veterans of the Civil War and the Spanish-American War buried there, including the first black soldier enlisted in the Grand Army of the Republic. And it was a party pit since 1979 until last year. So it was sad. It was a sad state, and now it's not a sad state anymore, thanks to all your work. So thank you all. I urge the council moving forward not to forget about this project into the next council. I know you won't. There's a lot of people up here who volunteered for the last 2 years and will probably continue to do that. And I definitely support this because those cemeteries should be brought back to how they should be cared for. And that way we can hopefully get a rededication ceremony done down at Clark's. Hopefully that's in the future. And maybe find some places for parking along the way so people can access it. Now that there's a ramp, people can actually get equipment in there. We can do some tree work and other things. It's huge, huge strides. So thank all involved, and I hope you'll all support this.
Councilor Cox.
One of the reasons why I worked so hard to get the cemetery committee back to life, I guess, pun, is because Patty, Amaral, myself, and the 1 Hour at a Time gang had observed some trash from the train. And so we organized a cleanup there, and what we found was disgusting. There were headstones used to build the fire pit, and when I brought this to Mike Hale's attention, he's like, we don't even have a committee that can address these issues, and he explained to me the whole committee issue and why we couldn't get people to serve on it. And so I thank you ladies so much for being willing to serve on a committee that doesn't get a lot of love, doesn't get any budget, and there's a lot of heart and soul and elbow grease put into this committee and the cleanups. I've been involved in some of the restoration work in the early part of the committee work, and it's amazing. It's so nice to be down there and see the difference in the headstones when you get to clean them. So I encourage anybody to participate in this because it really gives you a sense of being and worth. And we keep talking about our heritage. This is where our heritage lays. This is where they are resting in internal peace. And for us to not show them the respect that is due to them is very hard on me. So thank you, ladies.
Anybody else? Okay. Do we read the motion? Roll call vote?
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Counselor Lundberg?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard?
Yes.
Counselor O'Hara?
Yes.
Counselor Orlando?
Yes.
Counselor Shalino?
Yes.
Counselor Cox? Yes. The motion to appropriate up to $9,500 to the Gloucester Cemetery Advisory Committee for the purpose as specified passes on a vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent.
Next item.
I should say that the final Community Preservation Act project that we're funding this evening is a little more lively. The project number 8, our Cape Ann Women's Softball League and the DPW for the Meadows Field Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $34,129. And this is the definition of lively.
Joseph. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody.
Hey, Pat,
I
let me
couldn't
do
do
the
this.
formalities.
I'm sorry.
Open up the public hearing.
Okay.
Is there anybody to speak in favor? Go to it.
I always get myself in trouble. So I want to thank everybody. This would not be done. Number one, if Joseph didn't want it, and number two, we didn't have help from everyone. Steve Winslow, Debbie, you guys, it's just incredible. My thank you this year, I said, I will do this in a minute. Well, it wasn't a minute. It took me a month to do this thank you. And the reason why is because it is the whole community doing this. It's not one person or two. It's not a committee. It's every single person that steps on that field and is going to step on that field. You know, I'm hoping you're talking about the schools, you think about the field too, because we just put the new lights up, so I'm hoping too that our lights will stay. We're going for 34,129 or 120 or something got screwed up there. And we're just very grateful. Joe helped us with the flagpole to get this from Gordon's. Everyone just pitched in, so we're just really grateful. And we can't wait for the rededication next year. It's 100th anniversary of his death, and we're planning a lot of great things with the Veterans School, with the Sea Cadets, with Gloucester High School students, veteran students, whoever we can get to, put this together for him. So and that's going to be the day he died, October 5th. So I'm really excited for that.
Thank you. Is there anybody speaking in opposition? Is there anybody, are there any communications?
There are none.
All right, close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
There is a motion, and the motion is on a motion by Councilor Lundberg, seconded by Councilor Orlando. Budget and Finance Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council appropriate up to $34,129 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to the Cape Ann Women's Softball League / Public Works Department for the purpose of the continuing rehabilitation of Mathos Field under the Mathos Field Rehabilitation Project Phase 2. The appropriation will be allocated to the Open Space and Recreation category, funded from Open Space and Recreation Reserves and Fund 4510. The project will be tracked by the Community Preservation Fund Open Space and Recreation Capital Projects Fund 5717, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It's called Mados Field.
I know that. I can't quite, I want to call it Nathaniel Webster's Field. I can't pronounce it correctly. You're right.
Okay, so,
Sorry, Scott.
where are we at the roll call? Council discussion? It's been moved and seconded? All right. I just want to say again, for the Community Preservation Act money, this is another project that really would have never come together if it wasn't for that money and being available. And so, again, once again, it's seed money. It starts the ball rolling, and look what we have now: a beautiful field, well lit, with a nice flagpole to commemorate the person that the field is named after. So it's good work. This is the last distribution that we have tonight, and I just want to thank the Community Preservation Committee for once again coming up and with a lineup of great projects that we can invest the city's money in and be proud of. So thank you very much to the committee. Anybody else? All right, roll call vote.
Councilor Gilman?
Yes.
Councilor Blank?
Yes.
Councilor Lundberg?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Matos Field, yes.
Councilor O'Hara? Councilor Orlando? Yes. Councilor Shalino?
Yes.
Councilor Cox? Yes. The motion to appropriate up to $34,129 to the Cape Ann Women's Softball League and Public Works Department passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
Okay, moving forward. Next item on the agenda.
Next item is public hearing 2017-073 to amend the Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-274, 2-hour parking between certain hours by deleting Commercial Street for a distance of 27 feet from its southerly intersection with Beach Court, and amend Gloucester Code of Ordinance, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-277, 1-hour parking generally by adding Commercial Street for a distance of 27 feet from its southerly intersection with Beach Court.
Okay. Open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anybody to speak in opposition? Seeing none, are there any communications?
There are none.
Councilors, are there any questions? What are you saying?
He stepped away for a minute.
Close the public hearing. Okay, is there a committee report?
Yes, there is. We have 2 motions for this. Ordinance and Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 274, 2-hour parking. Nope, hold on. I gotta back it up for a second.
You want this one?
No, I got it. To amend, to recommend the City Council to amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-274, 2-hour parking between certain hours by deleting Commercial Street for a distance of 27 feet from its southerly intersection with Beach Court, and amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-277, 1-hour parking generally by adding Commercial Street for a distance of 27 feet from its southerly intersection with Beach Court, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there a narrative?
This is the dentist's office and Mom's Kitchen, that section of Commercial Street. There's a handful of parking spots there that were 2-hour parking. They were finding that those spots were getting taken up by, there's 4 of them, right? Yeah, there's 4. Those spots were getting taken up by people who weren't usually using the dentist's office or Mom's Kitchen, so they reached out to us and said, let's, can we get this changed to 1-hour parking that's more beneficial for the use in front of those buildings? So we thought it made sense.
Anybody else?
This has to be the most turned over parking area in the whole city, because in my 6 years that I've been here, it's been backwards and frontwards and upside down and angled and on top of each other, and I don't think whatever else we can do.
This is the 3rd time I've had to bring this forward in 6 years.
Okay. Simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, we have one more motion for this. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 274, pardon me, 2-hour parking between certain hours by deleting Commercial Street for a distance of 27 feet from its southerly intersection with Beach Court, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Public hearing.
Public hearing 2017-74, amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-279, 30-minute parking by deleting Cleveland Street northerly side beginning at a point 20 feet from the corner of Cleveland Street and Maplewood Ave for 37 feet in an easterly direction, and deleting Maplewood Ave easterly side beginning at a point 20 feet from the corner of Maplewood Avenue and Cleveland Street in a northerly direction for a distance of 40 feet.
Open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak in favor? Anybody to speak against? Any communications?
There are none.
Questions, councilors? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Yes, there is. Ordinance and Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-279, 30-minute parking by deleting Cleveland Street at its northerly side. All right, where are we? Hold on. Northerly side beginning at a point of 20 feet from the corner of Cleveland Street and Maplewood Avenue for 37 feet in an easterly direction, and deleting Maplewood Avenue easterly side beginning at a point of 20 feet from the corner of Maplewood Avenue and Cleveland Street in a northerly direction for a distance of 40 feet, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd like to make an amendment to this motion.
Yep.
So at the sentence that says Maplewood Avenue and Cleveland Street in a northerly direction for a distance of 40 feet, I would like to add the language for compact car only.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. Now you're making an amendment, and that needs to be seconded. We good?
She wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
It is the second part of the motion. Yes, and this would be on Maplewood Avenue. So one part of the motion is for Cleveland Street, and the other part is for Maplewood Avenue, and it's the Maplewood Avenue section of this motion. Yes.
Okay, on the, Councilor Cox.
Just for clarification, is it because it's that small spot between the driveway and the corner?
So the old Uncle Mo's that was on the corner of Maplewood Avenue and Cleveland Street has been closed for a number of years now, and it's been made into apartments. The owner had asked me to remove the 30-minute parking on either sides of the building, which is one on Cleveland Street, one on Maplewood Avenue. The spot that's on Maplewood Avenue is very, very small. I've had some concerns from the neighbors. There have been some really big trucks that are parking in there, and while they're parked there, they stick out into the road, and it's a hazard. Pulling out of Cleveland Street, you can't see out down Maplewood Avenue toward Derby Street where anything's coming, and also if you're traveling up Maplewood Avenue, you have to actually cross the center line to avoid hitting the car or the oversized vehicle that would be parked there. So I spoke to Bob Ryan. He agreed with me, and he said that would be a good suggestion for that spot. So we're not taking away parking, we're just making it for a sensible person to park there.
Okay. On the motion to amend. Simple majority, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Now on the main motion, as amended. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're good.
Public hearing 2017-075 to amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-284, Service or Loading Zones by deleting Main Street, southerly side beginning at its intersection with Mansfield Way for a distance of 22 feet in an easterly direction, and amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-280, 50-minute parking by adding Main Street southerly side beginning at its intersection with Mansfield Way for a distance of 22 feet in an easterly direction.
Open up the public hearing. Anybody to speak in favor? Anybody to speak in opposition? Are there any communications?
There are none.
Councilors, do you have any questions? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Yes, there is. Ordinance and Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 22-284, service or loading zones by deleting Main Street southerly side beginning at its intersection with Mansfield Way for a distance of 22 feet in an easterly direction, and I so move.
Second.
Any narrative? Discussion?
Also, Jamie, or you want me to take it?
Huh? Are we good?
Yes, so I'll briefly, the owner of Virgilio's had reached out to a few of the councilors. So he's got a loading zone in front of his business that he doesn't use, and there's a loading zone 2 spots behind it also. So he figured that deleting the loading zone that in front of his business that he doesn't use, that it would free up a couple more parking spots for the downtown area.
Councilor Cox.
In addition, the Virgilio family said that the loading zone is not good for his business because the trucks idle there and the fumes go right into the building, and it's adversely affecting the employees. There is another loading zone a little bit further up that is actively used, and he said this one is hardly ever used, and I will reach out to Mr. Hale after the 30 days or prior to the 30 days and find out if the spot in front of it, because it technically is a road that goes through there, but they don't use it as such, and there's no curb cut. So what we'd like to do is see the 15-minute spot and then a metered spot in addition. So that loading zone is relatively large, and then the spot in front of it is a dead spot. So we're hopefully going to be adding some parking on Main Street.
Councilor Orlando.
Just there, that's all great, but there is a curb cut on the bottom side on Roger Street, and there is usually vans up and down there. I think that's where they start with their wholesale business in the morning. So let's just not affect that.
Right, none of the trucks pull through, so, because there is no curb cut on that side. And technically, we've put parking spots in abandoned driveways in the past, so this would be standard business.
Okey-doke. Any other discussion? All right, simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Did he read both motions?
Is there another one?
My bad. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 22-280, 15-minute parking by adding Main Street southerly side beginning at its intersection with Mansfield Way for a distance of 22 feet in an easterly direction, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All right, majority, simple majority. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Next item is for council vote. City Council Order 2017-053, Orlando and LeBlanc, to request that the administration amend the city fee of $100 per amusement pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 177, by deleting said fee and adding a fee of $50 per amusement with a cap of $1,000.
Councilor Orlando. This is a simple majority, right?
So by way of background, there's 3 businesses that I'm aware of in the city that do these video games. That's what these amusements are referring to, these video games. The particular one in question that inquired with me was the bowling alley. So they have 23 video games in their establishment, and we had a fee on the books in this community of $100 per video game, which once added up and paid to the city would actually sap any profit they would be making from the concept of having video games. Now, that's one of the things that makes it a family-friendly environment that draws people in, and it's one of the things they were hoping would add to their business. So it brought up the question, so we looked into it. Thanks to the clerk's office, Joanne did a lot of background work for me on this. And I'm just trying to make a small business-friendly move here to the 2 or 3 establishments in the town that use these games to cap their hit at $1,000 per establishment, essentially, or $50 per game, so that it's still, the city still gets a fee, you know, a little bit of money through the licensing board, I guess, or through the administration, but these small businesses aren't getting pounded every year with such a significant burden. So that's the background here.
Councilor LeBlanc.
Yes, so I've been doing quite a bit of research on this myself. I've spoke to our general counsel, and I've spoken to Jim Destino about what would happen by lowering the fee to $50. And I'm going to lean on our city clerk for a second here, because she may have the numbers better than I do. What do we make a year at the fee that we have right now?
Okay, so through the chair, that is with the licensing board, and I'm not sure what the fees are right now. But when we had a meeting with the general counsel and the CAO, when they increased the fee, several fees for the licensing board, there was a 2010 figure in which $11,900 was put into the revenue of the city and the general fund from these amusement fees. But we have to take into consideration about $6,000 of that was with the Lucky 7. So I would probably say it's just an estimate, because I don't have the licensing board figures for this year or last year. Would be about $4,000 or so, 4 or 5.
Also, arcade status. We have to have six or more machines considered an arcade?
No, an arcade is 5 or more.
That would change the status of the license for
Yes.
that establishment?
Mm-hmm. It would change the status of the establishment, but that, like I said, through the licensing board, and I'm not sure whether we have an arcade fee. I don't think we have an arcade fee in the books. Yeah.
Okay.
This is just to move it forward, you know, it's going to be vetted at,
Yeah, I just wanted to ask some questions.
I just wondered, the math, it says $50 per amusement with a cap of 100, is that supposed to be 1,000?
It's 1,000.
So do we need to make that correction? It's 1,000?
The order reads that we're changing the fee from $100 per amusement down to $50, and that we're capping it at $1,000 per establishment.
Okay. Anybody else, Councilor?
I'm just seeking a little clarification. I'm quite familiar with the Parisis and the Lucky 7 enterprise that was a popular business activity here in the community and provided some services for our community until it ran up on the rocks with the Attorney General's office. And I know that they hope at some point in the future to resurrect that. They're certainly making steps in that direction. So in an establishment like that, which is larger, I don't know how this proposed ordinance change would impact something that focuses rather than on bowling and other family activity, but strictly speaking on the arcade activity of the machines. And my other question was simply a clarification about which other businesses in town are currently hosting these machines.
This is going to be vetted. That's all this is to move it forward, to ask the administration, and it'll come back to Budget and Finance, and it'll come back to O&A for discussion and clarification. And, there's a lot of moving parts to this. But I think at this point in time, I think we need to review how this is all done and how the licensing board handles it. And the definitions should be a big thing for O&A, or what is considered an arcade, what is considered, the other establishment. So all we're doing now is moving forward. Councilor Cox.
I have a point of order question. When, Joanne, and help me with this, when we talked about the $100 fee a while back, my vendors, remember?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't do a for council vote. We did an order. So I'm not quite sure what the point of a for council vote is on this matter and the upcoming matter, when in the past what we've done is we've created an order, it goes through the committee, it gets help from the administration as needed, and then it comes back through city council. This whole for council vote step is new.
Okay, so because Councilor Orlando wanted this to be a council order, it's really a request. These are administration fees, okay, in which they follow the Mass General Law, okay? So they're considered administration fees and not like to, and also to amend the ordinance. And he wanted to make sure that it went and got vetted through council, but I would defer that to Councilor Orlando on why he wanted to put it through.
Councilor Orlando.
Thank you. So I have a couple times in the past anyway done it this way so that I could gauge the support of the council on a given issue, almost as a sort of a glorified request to the mayor, if you will, but with 9 councilors rather than 1. The idea being here, if it's for council vote, if we are behind a concept like this where we're saying, okay, listen to the administration, we'd like you to take a harder look at this. This is what we propose to reduce the fee to $50 amusement, whatever the issue is, that we can as a council vote on that, let them know where we stand together, and then they can either take it up or not. So it's an administrative fee. We don't decide fees, the administration does. So, and then whatever changes have to be made to relevant ordinances, from there, that would be on the council as well. So this is something that came to me because it was in what the folks that came to me were in Councilor LeBlanc's ward. I asked him to join with me, and the clerk's office helped us with a lot of research. And it seemed to me that the question really is changing a fee at this point more so than changing an ordinance, which would be the next step. So I just thought it might be prudent to have the entire council weigh in on it, have whatever discussion we need to have, take a vote, and move it on into the hands of the administration where whatever change they're going to make is made, that could benefit the small business. So that was my goal, if that helps.
Okay. Are we done? Councilor Lundberg.
Well, I have the same issue that Councilor Cox just raised, and I just heard Councilor Orlando give his explanation. However, phrasing it this way is more than just asking the administration to look into fees. It's being very specific, and talking about $100 down to $50 with a cap of $1,000. I don't have a clue as to whether that's something that I could support. I can certainly support asking the administration to look into these kinds of fees with the idea of raising revenue or addressing some equity that we're missing. But you know, these 4 lines of sentence don't tell me anything about that. So I feel very uncomfortable voting for something that is this specific without having any kind of background. And I'm certainly willing to ask the administration to look into stuff, but I think this is the wrong way to do it.
Councilor Cox.
And that's kind of my sentiment, is that, you know, we all are independent counselors and we all bring things forward that our constituents request us to do. This is an added step, an unnecessary step when you're working with the administration to go through this process. I myself, I want to have that discussion. I'm torn between wanting to ask for that dialogue and the discussion versus the proper procedure on how to do things, and I just don't, I adamantly disagree that this is the proper procedure, and I think it's a misuse of council vote.
Okay, anybody else? Simple majority, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Roll call.
No, you would have to put you would have to request a motion to move it to the administration. Or you could do, you don't have to do roll call, you just do majority vote.
So the motion, if we were going to vote on a motion here, would be to adopt the proposed amendments to the fees and seek review by the administration.
Point of order. I think that's the wrong way to do this. We are not making a motion to move something forward. We're asking them to address and look at fees.
Right.
That's it. That is why I think this is a misuse of council vote.
I'll make this easy. I'm going to withdraw the council order, and I will make a separate request to the mayor before the end of my term to review this and make a specific recommendation just for me so that we don't have to be uncomfortable with the procedure. I was just trying to do something here that I thought might be beneficial to some small businesses and really wouldn't necessarily affect the bottom line for the community, but procedure's important. We should do things right. If that's is not what everyone's comfortable doing, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so, Council Cox.
I 100% support your efforts. I just don't think this is the right avenue to do it. Please don't take my wrong.
Okay. All right, all right, so, for Council vote of 053 has been withdrawn. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item.
Next item is for council vote, City Council Order 2017-054 from Council Orlando, LeBlanc, and O'Hara. Request the administration establish a non-resident walk-on beach fee for Good Harbor and Wicksheet beaches, and that said fees be placed in a special revenue fund to be designated to promote tourism.
So this is the exact same discussion. It's a request about establishing a fee for a specific purpose with a specific recommendation. It's the exact same discussion about procedure, so I guess with Councilor LeBlanc and Councilor O'Hara, I don't know how you feel about withdrawing this, and we'll submit it later at a different date. All right, so I'll move to withdraw this as well.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, next item.
Next item is decision to adopt Special City Council Permit 2017-004, Commercial Street Number 33, Map 1, Lot 22, Gloucester Zoning Ordinance, Section 2.3.6, parentheses 1, for parking of motor vehicles to service a use in the MI District, and Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Section 22-153, privately owned open-air parking spaces.
Councilor Lundberg.
Yes, I move to adopt the special council permit decision SCP 2017-004 for Commercial Street Number 33 pursuant to Section 2.3.61 of the Gloucester Zoning Ordinance and GCO Chapter 22, Section 22153.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Wasn't this asked to be withdrawn? Was this that?
You can't withdraw it.
Through the chair. Can I-
Yep.
Okay. Or did you want to do it? Okay. So under the Gloucester zoning ordinance, I think I sent you all an email about the withdrawal period is before the public hearing or before the council vote. Once a decision has been rendered by the legal counsel, it has to be the 90 days under the Gloucester zoning ordinance. General counsel prepares a decision and then gives it to council to withdraw, to adopt. So what happened is I received the decision before the letter to withdraw. It was too late to withdraw. You have to go through the process. So it's up to the applicant not to the right to exercise this permit if they want to.
clarification. So if we have a no vote to adopt this, how does that?
No, we have to adopt our decision. It's up to them whether they want to.
You have to adopt the decision because this is
Yeah,
already,
It's
you
up to
know,
them whether they want to use their
this
permit.
reflects the vote that you took on September 26th.
And I believe the permit dies in 2 years anyway, if they don't act on it. No. It's a, beginning and an end.
Okay.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor Blank?
Yes.
Counselor Lundberg?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard?
Yes?
Counselor O'Hara?
Yes.
Counselor Orlando?
Yes.
Counselor Shalino?
Yes.
Counselor Cox? Yes. The motion to adopt the decision for special city council permit 2017-004 for 33 Commercial Street passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is decision to adopt the denial of a special city council permit 2017-011 Coburn Street, number 1, map 157, lots 72 and 39, Gloucester zoning ordinance, section 3.1.6b and section 3.2 for a building height in excess of 35 feet.
Councilor Lundberg.
Yes, I move to adopt the denial of special city council permit 2017-001 Colburn Street, number 1, map 157, lots 72 and 39, GCO 3.1.6b, and section 3.2 for the building height in excess of 35 feet.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Councilor Gilman, Councilor LeBlanc, Councilor Lundberg,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, Councilor Nolan. Oh, I'm sorry, he's absent. Councilor O'Hara. Councilor Orlando.
Yes.
Councilor Shalino.
Yes.
Councilor Cox.
Yes.
Okay, the motion to adopt the decision of the denial of special city council permit 2017-11 for 1 Copeland Street passes on a vote of 8 in favor and 1 absent. Okay, so the next item is the update of the Downtown Development Commission from City Council Representative Councilor Melissa Cox.
I would love to give you an update, but the minutes were not conveyed to me. So there is no update.
No updates? Okay. We're down to the wire. So council requests of the mayor. Why don't we start with Councilor Memhard?
I was just following up on Councillor Cox's 3 R's or first R or whatever it is. If you can't remember which Virginia Lee Burton book it was that you read, you have to pick from the list. Was it Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel? Was it The Little House? Was it Katie and the Big Snow? No. Was it Life Story? No. The Song of Robin Hood? No. Choo Choo? No. Calico the Wonder Horse or the Saga of Stewie the Stinker? No. There must have been Maybelle the cable car. No. The mystery will live on. So noted that she, as several people observed, Virginia Lee Burton Demetrius made an incredible contribution about values and to our children's literature, and it really is part of our Gloucester heritage.
Okay. Is that anything else, Councilor? Councilor Gilman.
I have 3 quick things. The first is a request to the mayor, and if you think that there's a better way for me to put this through, let me know. But my request to the mayor is that Public Works provides the council, via BNF, a summary of the causes of the various citywide power outages that occurred on October 30th, 2017, and in many locations lasted until November 3rd, 2017, and a review of National Grid's preventative maintenance contract, including the last time that they performed branch and tree cutbacks. So, and the reason why I want to learn more about this, or have BNF vet this, is that if what happened ever happens again in the middle of winter and we haven't really come to grips with what the issues are. I think we all need to understand that. And I'm going to wait until everybody's listening. Thank you. And the other part of this, which is important, is that there could be some budget matters that we might want to consider, such as the need for maybe reestablishing a tree warden or a bucket truck, or what it is we can do in the city to make sure that, you know, we are financed appropriately. Because, like I said, if this were to happen in the middle of winter, 4 or 5 days without power is devastating. And having been one of those streets that was affected, everything my neighbors keep talking about is, what if this happens in the winter? So I would just like to have a better understanding of what happened and what we're going to do to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And if we need to support the DPW department in this year's budget by understanding what those things are. So are we comfortable with this as a request to the mayor to get a report and then to bring it back to BNF for further discussion? What are your thoughts on this in terms of protocol? What works? I've got a short request right here, Dana, which is only 2 lines, but I'm asking all of you how you think this should be brought forward. Through the chair.
I don't see what budget and finance, by directing it to them, how that, will help,
Okay.
because they deal with money. Maybe, P&D would be a better.
Why don't we ask for a presentation to the full council? So the DPW can, the electrical inspector? So either the building department or whoever's in charge of that could just come to the full council and give us an update or some kind of a background. And by us, I mean you guys.
Well, we're back to National Grid, and basically they're the ones that are going to have to do the presentation.
But what I think Councilor Gilman's trying to get at also is this should be some type of protocol that when there is an outage, that we have steps we need to follow as a community to make sure that, people that are up without power are informed or able to, we have possibly a shelter or something that people can go to so they can, like Councilor Gilman said, if there's a cold snap and people aren't in their homes for 4 days,
I think, you can say that, to the administration, what is the action plan?
And that the presentation be given to the full council.
Right.
So I'll leave my request similar to what it is, but it won't go to BNF, it would just be to the council. Presentation to the council, right?
Right.
Okay, great, thank you. And my other comment is that I just wanted to announce that the City of Gloucester is hosting Senator Warren Town Hall on Saturday, December 16th, this Saturday, the 16th. Doors will open at 10 a.m. The event starts at 11 a.m. and it ends at 1, and it's going to be hosted at Gloucester High School Auditorium. And the public will be able to ask questions and enter them into a lottery. And the speakers will be Mayor Safathia, Senator Tarr, Representative Ferrante, and then Senator Warren will go right into a Q&A. So we learned about this just this afternoon, and I wanted to make sure that the public was all aware of this for those of you who might still be watching this long meeting on TV, and our 2 members in the audience, Drew Tarr and our wonderful soon-to-be Jen Holgram, counselor. And the final thing I wanted to just mention is that wishing everybody a happy Hanukkah. Tonight's the first night, and also I was happy to see that Councilor Cox was at tonight's ceremony at the temple, which I think was a wonderful tribute to the support that the temple had after the fire 10 years ago. So I saw that and Councilor Lundberg. So it's great that both of you were there because it certainly was a lot of community support, and by today, that was really a nice way to start the Hanukkah celebration. So thank you.
Councilor O'Hara.
I'm going to ask Councilor Orlando, his sister pertaining to Senator Warren's visit. We have Wreaths Across America during the same time period at noontime. That's very important because that honors our veterans, deceased veterans of both Gloucester and Rockport, to turn out at, why don't I pass this on to Joe because he knows far more about it.
Well, at 11:15 in the morning on Saturday at Beechbrook Cemetery, right off of Essex Avenue, we'll be setting up, and at noon there's a ceremony to lay the wreaths and the flags at the veterans' gravestone, headstones, and grave sites, which unfortunately is going to conflict. So, I'm hopeful that we have a good turnout. It's not too late to make a donation to Wreaths Across America to buy wreaths and flags for the graves. And last year, Councilor O'Hara came out. It was a snowy, slushy, wet day, and we were on our hands and knees driving stakes into the ground to be able to erect these things. And it was a great event with great turnout. I'm hopeful for an equally successful year on Saturday. So anyone who would like to join us, hopefully the weather will be better this time. And Beechbrook Cemetery at noon for the ceremony. Thanks.
Councilor LeBlanc.
So I have a few thank yous. First, Mike Hale, DPW Director, for allowing us to use the field, the high school field, for a veterans flag, the first annual veterans flag football game the other day. It went off really well. The Navy won. And this is going to be an annual thing, and we're going to build off it. And I've spoke with Adam, and also I want to thank Adam for organizing this, and Brendan Ciparini for stepping up and doing this too. But I think in the years to come that we can eventually turn this into a fundraiser raffle to generate some revenue for the Veterans Center, so they can dole it out to veterans and veterans' families that need assistance. It was a poor turnout because of the weather, but it was a great cause. I was there to support them. I didn't play because I was sick, and that's all you have to know. My next thank you is for Councilor Gilman for hosting us the other night. It was an excellent evening. We all had a good time. It was great food, and we had a lot of laughs talking about what we've done over the past year. Also, Councilor Shalino, Councilor Orlando, Joe and Joe, it's been an honor sitting up here with you guys, going to battle sometimes, and holding hands and applauding some of the people that come up here and some of the things that we've done. You'll not be forgotten. I've learned a lot from Councilor Shalino, Councilor Orlando. I hope you guys, both of you guys, don't go away, or don't go very far from us anyway. And it's been an honor being up here, doing what we have to do for everybody, and the right thing for the city. And that being said, this is our last meeting before Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everybody.
Councilor Lundberg.
I'd just like to echo what Councilor Blank said to Councilor Shalino and Orlando for your contribution to our cause here. That's our cause, is the serving the people, and two more generous public servants there aren't in our group. So thank you very much for that, and happy holidays to everyone.
Councilor Cox.
Just want to remind everybody that the toy drive Senator Tarr puts on is Thursday night from 5:30 to 6:30. They will be at Cape Ann Savings Bank. There'll be plenty of entertainment, and Santa and Mrs. Claus will both be there. On Friday, the 15th, there's a Magnolia Craft Fair sip and stroll downtown Magnolia for people if they would like to do some last-minute shopping. And just a reminder to the council that Bob Wynot's annual Christmas caroling is going to be this Sunday. I believe we are gathering at his place at 11. Singing doesn't matter. Trust me, I've been there for 6 years. So I look forward to seeing you all there.
Councilor Memhard.
I know that if Councilor, excuse me, if Councilor Nolan were here tonight, he would ask us to remind that we have a special City Council presentation tomorrow night, Wednesday at 5:30 here for the Lindsay Coolidge Award. And he's looking for a quorum here to perform with that.
Can we do a show of hands? Who's going to show? All right, so we have a quorum.
Oh, and for Councilor Memhard, the book was Big Machines. It was a story about Virginia Lee Burton, not a book by her. That's why none of the titles sound familiar. But there's Big Machines on the cover. Hi.
Councilor Orlando.
Thank you. So briefly, Val, the event you put together at your house was fantastic. It was awesome. We had a great time. The food was great. The company was better. And I tell you what, that wasn't an insult. I was trying to say you're all nice people. Jeez. I know, tough crowd, jeez. Get on your procedure and what you say and all that. I'm just kidding. So thank you so much. You know, been on the council for 2 years, which is not that long. It flew by. And I feel like in 2 years, thanks to all of you, thanks to so many people in the administration and the community, I've grown a lot as a person, and I've learned a lot as a person who's involved in politics and in government, in legislating. And, you know, these 2 years will not be forgotten. The photo that you guys presented to me is already hung proudly on the wall of my office. So I get to look at it every day, and I'll look back on these 2 years with a great deal of pride. And thank you all for your contribution to that. I would like to just briefly talk about a couple of events. Thank you to Councilor Howard for bringing up Wreaths Across America. It's something that's very close to my heart, as my grandfather was a World War II veteran, and my cousin is active duty in the Marines. And that's, again, Saturday, noon, this Saturday at Beechbrook Cemetery. As Councilor Cox mentioned, Bruce Tarr is doing this toy drive for the Shriners Children's Hospital. And there are 5 locations you can drop off toys if you can't make it on Thursday. Those locations are at Orlando and Associates, the Weather Vane, Extreme Truck and Auto, Pauline's Gifts, and the Gloucester United Methodist Church. There's collection points at all those places you can drop in and just drop them in the box.
Through December 18th.
Through December 18th, that's right. I guess I'd just like to leave my last council meeting by saying that I'm hopeful that the next council will be as good as this council. I'd like to remind everyone in the entire community that we all may have differences about a political issue or a community issue or any type of issue, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We all want what's best for the community. And I would urge everyone to debate, to engage, and to do so in the most respectful manner possible. Because sometimes we lose our cool and our temper and say things we don't mean about our neighbors. And unfortunately, that's been seen at various times throughout the history here too, because we're not perfect, we're people, but we in Gloucester, we're great, and we can do better than that. And I hope in the future, whatever the political issue, whatever the differences of opinion, moving forward, we all remember that we're all in this together and we're all on the same team, just like this council has been for 2 years. So I promised my wife I would say this. Orlando, out.
I just want to once again thank Val for hosting the party and everybody contributing to it. I think it was a wonderful farewell, good ending, and we had a nice discussions during the evening. I was very proud to be elected 2 years ago in January to be your leader for 2 years as City Council President. And we had a daunting new council that had 5 brand new members that I tried to mold together, work together, and teach civility to each other and to the public, and to instill that we're here to listen. And the 5 counselors, the brand new counselors, I think, like I said at Val's house, after around a year in December, it all came together for you, and this council came together. And I've served on a few councils, and I got to say that this is one of the better councils that have come down the pike. I think we work together. We know we certainly have disagreements, but overall, we're here to listen, and we've done some good work that we can be proud of. I hope as I leave the office that whoever becomes the president, for next term, that again, professionalism and civility, that needs to be how this council should operate. I always tell the story that when I first got elected, that was not the case, and it was just like everybody was off of themselves, and there was no decorum. And through the years, we've kind of gotten away from that. My first campaign, I ran that I was going to bring civility to the city council, and that campaign was in 2001. So it's been great working with you all. I'm just amazed at how you all have progressed, the individual committee chairs, the way you've tackled the problems and devoted your time and listened to the people. So I think if we're going to pat you, I want to pat everybody on the shoulder. I want to give you all a big hug. I think you all did a terrific job. You certainly made me proud. You certainly made me look good. And I'm very proud, and I'm always going to remember this time as a city council president for as long as I live. To the voters, I also want to thank you for your trust, and it's all started back in 2001. So off and on, it's just pretty much going on 17 years of service. And I've seen a lot of things come and go in the city. And we've done, in those 17 years, between the administrations and the different council, we have done things that we can be proud of. And one of the things that we talked about today with one of my customers is the CSO project, and how that got funded and how that got built. And the discussion that I've had with people is that when we have this job, we commit ourselves that we are going to leave the city of Gloucester a better city than we inherited from our fathers and mothers. And I think this council has moved forward. And the biggest, one of the biggest items is the CSO project, where a lot of times it gets forgotten, but it was a massive project, and we're going to be paying for it for a lot of years. But we're leaving the city of Gloucester, children can go to the harbor now and see the bottom of the harbor. That wasn't the case a few years back. They can clam on the Annisquam River. That wasn't the case. They can go to all the beaches. That wasn't the case. Gloucester is a lot cleaner than it was, certainly when I first became councilor back in 2001, where we still had the bubbler And a lot of people think that I make that up, but that's a true story. That's how far we've come. Leaving Gloucester better than what we found it. The turbines, renewable energy. It's making us a leader in renewable energy in order to get the grants. And like I said tonight, I know Gloucester has missed the boat, literally, for a lot of money from that the federal government has wanted to give us, and that is all done. So now we are at attention, and when there's money available, we go after it, because that's how we're going to get things accomplished. So I want to thank the citizens of Gloucester for giving me one of the best experiences in my life, the ability to serve the city that I love. And who knows, a year from now, I might be back. I might give up the resting and then go do something else. So, at this point in time, thank you everybody. Thank you, the citizens of Gloucester, for giving me the opportunity to serve. And I really want to thank everybody that's at this council for the opportunity to be your city council leader and to make each other look good. So thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Take your wife on vacation.